Okay. See if we got any audio. Yeah, we have audio. Finally. Okay. There we go. Can you hear me now? All right. Okay, so what we're doing today. Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry, you're right. What's going on, folks? Eddie here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. So today, John's dyno tuning a Dodge Dart. Now, this Dodge Dart has EC's up until yesterday top secret new turbo. Now, for those of you wondering what the specs are, we haven't checked the exhaust side of the thing, but it's a 40 millimeter inducer, which is 3 millimeters larger than a 1752. And the exducer is going to be roughly 50 millimeters. The email that I saw from the guys at EC were telling everybody that the exducer was 51 or 52 millimeter, something along those lines. So what John's going to do is he's going to be dynoing it right now with the stock tune on the car. After the stock tune's been tested, before Kevin sold his handheld, John copied the EC tune out of the car, and then we're going to dyno their tune on the car. Once that's complete, John's going to tune the car on his own. Now, that process starts with going back to the stock file and building from scratch. You don't want to build off of someone else's tune ever. At that point, you're just fixing someone else's work. So, yeah, that's the process. So this is more or less for you folks to watch. I'll come back and say hi as we're going. I'll be paying attention to what's going on in the chat section. But ultimately, this is for you to watch the dyno session with the car. While we're doing this, I am filming a proper video that'll be going up shortly thereafter. This is going to be fun. How's that? Okay, John's just getting set up. He hasn't done any recorded runs yet, so we'll be able to see exactly how much power this turbo makes. Now, a decent stuffed turbo, even on the stock tune, should make at least 180 horsepower. Okay, folks, so I'll tell you what I just told the camera. That was bone stock tune. Their turbo definitely must be making a little bit of power. John's double checking a couple things, but it made 178 horsepower on the stock tune. So that's actually not bad. It's about on par, maybe a tiny bit less than what a 1752 would be on, but completely different turbo. Just because a 1752 makes a bit more power on a stock car than this one, it doesn't actually mean anything. This turbo probably needs a bit more tuning, but I'm dying to see what the max. I believe the number EC gave out for this turbo is 224 horsepower. That's their wheel number. They're advertising a crank number of 274, which is 18% drivetrain loss, which doesn't sound right to me, but I haven't measured it, so I really don't know. I can't say. But, yeah. Based on that, this car should be able to make some power. Going again. All right, another stock dyno run. I'll bring you guys over to see the dyno curve after he's finished a couple runs. Okay, those are some decent numbers. For those of you that have me in social media, I'm going to post these dyno charts up onto my Facebook page so you can see these. They'll be undescriptive just on my Facebook page. Again, it was right in the same range. That was about 170. Second run was 178. I think it was 178 for the second. One was 173. The other one was 178. Thanks, Kevin. That's awesome. I didn't even know that was an option on my YouTube channel. Okay, that's cool. Thanks, man. That's freaking awesome. It's funny, when you start a YouTube channel, they start turning on certain things for you as you're going along. You have to apply for monetization, but this super chat thing, that's kind of cool. Thanks, Kevin. Actually, Kevin, why aren't you here? It's your car. Kevin's going to be back down here around 7 o'clock. But yeah. So I got to say that's actually really not bad. Nothing to complain about there. 178 horsepower on the stock tune. That's not bad. Really, that's about the same as stage 0 basic tune on a 124. That's not bad. The funny thing is, John's sub turbo will be here in a matter of days. It'll be going on to the 124, so we'll have a pretty good comparison coming up soon. In all fairness, we're bolting it on to the ported head and a built bottom end, but really, a ported head is a good modification, but a built bottom end isn't really going to add any power. But it'll still give us a rough idea. Very, very rough. I really want to see one of John's turbos on a stock engine. And if I had a good stock engine in my 124, I would put it in that car. Well, I guess we did just buy John a car. We could do that. I don't know. That's a question for John. I think he's thinking about going back into the dart market. But really none of my business, to be honest, just because I don't work here. For those that don't know, John is one of my best friends. That's how I'm tied to Torque. We weren't always friends, but that's the way it is now. I don't work here. I'm very fortunate that I know him so well and I can come down here and do this kind of stuff. But really, a lot of the questions are for John. But I can get John over here to answer some questions if y'all want. Not really a big deal. Yeah, Kevin, you're lucky. You're going to get the better head than me. Mine's the first experiment, which means you get the better cylinder head. That's cool, though. Oh, Jacob, degeneration. Guys, thank you. That's rad. It's honestly really kind of nice. Running a YouTube channel, folks, doesn't make you any money. If if you factor in car parts, it's a massive loss. The pay for pistons and petrol is negative, I don't know, $30,000 this year. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Right on, Jake. Anytime you can get anything for half price, man, that is freaking rad. Let's find out if John's planning on tuning the darts. Let's find that out for you folks right now. Good job. So John's answer, he never really quit. He just stopped advertising it. He was doing a lot more stuff with the locals. If you want John to go full out into darts again, go hit him up in social media and tell him that you want him to go full out on the dart again. Really, like, it's a bit of a no-brainer to me, considering it's essentially the same as a Fiat 500 or a 124. But, oh, fun fact, the ECU tune in the dart is closer to the 124 than it is the 500. Interesting fun fact for the day. Going on, Brody? Wang Chung, that's essentially what John's doing right now. He's tuning their turbo on his dyno. One of their former sponsored cars, after they weren't able to get his car to where he wanted it, he brought the car to John, and John's dyno tuning it now. John has another turbo coming out that is a little bit bigger than what they have. That's what we're putting on my built engine in the 124 before we go over to the Julia engine. The Julia engine's sitting right here. One of the most frustrating things about coming down here when we're doing multi-air stuff, I can't pull myself away from the Julia engine. See if I can pull the Julia engine over. It's not very fast when it's sitting on a shop floor, though. Not too long. Oh, just so you know, folks, the person that found the timing chain cover was Lorenzo from Speed Motive. Thank you, Lorenzo. Lorenzo from Speed Motive, you are the man. I had no idea the guy had access to the Italian parts catalog. And yeah, he's the guy that found it. So thank you, Lorenzo. And pretty sure we got the confirmation, so we can just move forward. But it's never going to work. Okay, so John, what are you doing now? Reading? Okay, so John's at the phase where he's just reading the ECU. This is the part where it gets boring. There are nights where I've sat here with John for easily 8 hours. Like, we'd started tuning at like, oh God, more than that. I remember one day with my 500, we started tuning at like 2 in the afternoon, and then we finally finished at about 2 in the morning. We've had a couple of days where we finished later than that, but I think that was the longest day I've ever sat here with John tuning. And seriously, it's kind of boring. It really is. Like, it's exciting knowing something's going to happen to your car, but ultimately it's not the most exciting process to have done. Really, you're sitting there watching John type on a computer. It's not really any different than anything else for you. You just know there's fun stuff coming. What else we got here? Good Lord, folks, let me catch up. Dude, if it's 4 a.m., well, no, it's Friday. 4 a.m. on a Friday is okay. You don't have to sleep. Just sleep in tomorrow, man. Yes, that's right. EC turbo on a torque-tuned car. That's okay. Good on, Brett. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Jacob. You and me both. It's not that big. It really isn't. Like, it's in a bag with all the valve covers on it, but I can give you a comparison in just a minute. I'll grab my built block and put it beside it. Not really a big deal. As far as forums go, right now, I like Albin's forum the best, the Broken Fiat forum. I'm not big into forums these days right now, but, you know, at least with Albin's forum, you've got a pretty neutral space. Broken Fiat, just look up the Broken Fiat forum. That's by far the best forum right now. I think it's a little funny that our favorite company has started a forum and called it, what was it, FCA. It's an FCA forum, as if it was FCA running the forum. I mean, come on. If that isn't shady marketing, I don't know what is, but whatever. Yeah, Broken Fiat forum. Head there. Alvin's a great guy. I like that forum because it's not quite as headbutty. The reality is, like, all the stuff around the tunes, you know, everyone headbutts. Like me, I'm kind of central to a lot of it, and I know that. I have been for a long time. But the reality is, like, you know, a lot of my friends in Vancouver, not everyone listens to what I have to say. I have friends that have the EC tunes. A bunch of them have switched to torque after losing races, but, you know, that's okay. Other ones, they just love the way their car is now. They don't want to go any further, and they're happy. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But, yeah. Yes, Brett, the Broken Fiat Club. A little bit ironic because, I don't know, I've only ever had one that's really a broken Fiat. Yeah. Mentioning John usually leads to arguing. What? What do you want? John Bushbaum is a hilarious individual. It's kind of hard filming here, actually. Because half the time I'm filming, he does stupid shit like that. But I love him anyways. Hey, John! Brett says hi. Hi, Pumpkin! He says hi, Pumpkin. Can you come out? You want me to open? Come on out. All right, I just got John to come out of the car. Oh, here, watch this. Okay. Oh. Okay. I'm 6 foot. I'm 6 feet tall.
What's up, princess? What's going on? People asking how to read what they're saying.
People ask questions. You can see it all right down here. Trade spots, man. You can see it.
Hey, what are the...
How do you keep up? God. It's kind of hard to keep up. These folks are badass.
And they don't like minis.
What, minis?
Alex? Is Alex on?
Yeah, Alex is right here. Mr. Como's here.
There he is. All right. Wait. It's a delay.
Oh, yeah. Rocky Ninja. I'm sure they're watching. You can tell if you watch their channel. Did you hide over there, Matt?
Nobody knows we're not going to use it. It's like a fat ass.
Hey, Kevin.
I walked up and I'm heavy.
Kevin had these made. These are actually kind of cool. Little torque keychains. Yeah.
The delay kills me.
It's kind of cool. Stage 2 is more of a request thing. So John's Stage 2 tune is a bit of a back and forth. You can't release something that makes the kind of power Stage 2 does and just hand it out. It requires back and forth in order for you to really get it right. It's well worth it at the end. It's a 24 PSI tune that just will absolutely blow your mind. What am I looking at, Kevin? Ah, gotcha. Where is... I just got secret word that Rocky Ninja. Apparently I know you. Everyone thank Rocky Ninja. Everybody thank Rocky Ninja right now. There's the man that found the timing chain cover. Right, Rocky Ninja? Love that guy. Oh, Kevin was here probably like an hour ago. He had to put his clothes on to leave. You guys got any questions for John while we're sitting here? John and I are actually going to do a proper live stream this weekend where we just sit down and let anyone answer or let anyone ask any questions that they want to know. But yeah. Yeah, that would be really cool, actually. A multi-air swapped Classic 500. I would love to see that. I would absolutely love to see that. I want to see that. And I'd like to see a classic 124 Spider with a modern multi-air in it. A classic Spider with about 200 horsepower would be absolutely ridiculous. I would love that. I'd love to see that. So good. So good. So one thing that's going to be going on very soon is John and I are going on a road trip, for those of you that don't know. Because of this insane swap that's happening, it's beyond anything you'd normally go to a shop and say, hey, can I get this done? So I need to thank John somehow. So in order to thank John, I bought him a Fiat 500 Sport Turbo. It's actually Alex Como's old Fiat 500 Sport Turbo. And we're going to be heading down south to go pick that thing up. John's sorting out when, but we're going to go pick it up, bring it back here, and John will officially have a Fiat for the shop. So I didn't know how else to thank him. Like, how do you thank someone for helping an idea like this come to fruition? Like, just to be clear, like, I would never be able to do that without John. Like, I just couldn't. I'm not a stupid guy, but the level of knowledge required for that is deep. And yeah, right? Hey, it's really, as far as I'm concerned, it's almost not enough. Like, It's funny. This was my fantasy swap. Just so you guys are abundantly clear. I think if any of you were at the Fiat on the Dragon and were talking to me about this subject long before this was ever a concept, you'll know that this was a fantasy swap for me. This was the be-all, end-all of all swaps in the 124. I viewed it as something that just was, yeah, so beyond, you know, the normal realm of car modification. And the fact that, yeah, it's even happening is astonishing. I'm sorry it takes so much time for this stuff, folks. Like, I really, really wish this could have been a faster process to get it in there. But whenever you do something this big, you run into problems. And I'm just really thankful that Lorenzo was able to find the part that we needed. Because really, that's the only truly esoteric part of the build. Everything else is pretty standard. For anyone that wants to know while we're killing time, some folks have been asking what we're going to be doing to get that all to work. So it's all going to be Julia up until the end of the transmission. After the end of the transmission, it's going to go on a custom drive shaft out to a CTSV differential, and then custom shafts going out to the wheels. It's going to be fun. No, he didn't run that up. He had pops and bangs, but he only ran it for maybe a few hours. Like, he did not have it in the car long enough for it to do anything. Like, if you want to make noise with your car, that tune is going to take some time before it does some damage. It will damage your piston tops, mostly because you have explosions happening in the combustion chamber. But yeah, I would recommend just never do that. Don't put that type of in your car. If you want the explosiony, gurgly type of tune, you can do that, but more with there's a camera behind me. But more with having the explosions happen after the combustion chamber is pretty important if you want it to be safe. That's a good idea. Scope them. It's worth taking a look, right? Well worth taking a look. I know I've only ever told one person to look on a whim, and that was actually someone that I ran into when I was on my way to the Dragon. And sure enough, that person had them. John's shooting a laser pointer at us. You know, mistakes are made. I guess that's all I can really say about it. Mistakes are made. That's why I brought a microphone. You guys love John's compressor or what? That thing is crazy loud. That is a great comparison, actually. That is phenomenal. And, you know, make sure you post up your results, right? Whether they are positive or negative, please just, you know, post the results, right? Results are important to the community. It's not about proving someone right or wrong, but showing the truth is important, right? So, you know, if they aren't pitted, everyone should know that on yours. That's great. It's a sample that it didn't mess up on. You know, if they are pitted, though, it's good for people to know this. I think one of the biggest things that people should do in terms of the Fiat community is when something's wrong with your car, be open about it. Tell people. There's this funny tendency for everyone to be incredibly secretive about problems with their cars. Just say something. It's okay. It's fine.
EC went live with the tuning session.
Anyhow, yeah, you know, if you have problems with your car, be public. Like when I have problems with my car, I say I'm having problems with my car. My car is not always perfect. My 500 was a nightmare to get where it was. It was usually when it left the shop, it was pretty good to go. But like, good Lord, you know, you go through a lot of nightmare type stuff. People talk openly about erectile dysfunction. That's fantastic. We can talk about this, but this is a car channel, man. We can talk about Maya Barth and its oil. Oh, so update. The catch cans, they're in there. I no longer have any oil getting into my intake system. It is dry as a bone, completely dry as a bone. But the amount of oil that gets up into the catch cans is still pretty high. And we were putting some thought into it, and this actually makes sense. So the T-Jet essentially is the same as the multi-air, except for the multi-air brick. The T-Jet has two cams instead of a multi-air brick and an exhaust cam. They don't have these issues. The multi-air engine does. Now, if you look at a normal valve cover, there's a lot of baffling before you get to the vents that are used for the PCV system. There's no room for those baffles in the 124's valve cover. No room at all. So what ends up happening is that oil just splashes out. And what Fiat did to fix that was put that one drain in. So they catch the oil and they send it back into the engine because the valve cover is not baffled enough. So that's really the issue is it's a lot to do with the baffling and the valve cover. At least it looks to be on mine. Some cars don't push out as much oil as others, though. So I'm sure there's still something a little odd with mine, but I don't care. The engine will be out very, very soon. Actually, Brody, being a buddy of mine, I did ask. Yeah, you should have something soon. That's going to be really exciting. I can't wait to see what you do with the Stage 2 tune. Brody, are you going to dyno it? Tell me you're going to dyno it. Come on, say you're going to dyno it. Everyone ask Brody to dyno Stage 2 when he gets it. Yeah, if you're having a problem with your car, the company shouldn't try and hide the problem. That should never happen. A problem with your car is just a problem with your car. It's up to the company to fix the problem, not to hide the problem. Hiding a problem, that's just, well, I'll let you folks decide what that is. Even though the car pulls power. Oh. Alex Como. Scientology. What else? Yeah. Yeah, Matt liked my car, which kind of surprised me. He barely fit in the thing. That was kind of amusing. That was such a... Meeting Matt Farah, that was like... That was a very interesting thing for me because that's what turned me on to the concept of YouTube. Like I never would have thought about making YouTube videos in a consistent manner like this if it wasn't for going to meet Matt Farah. That was super, super cool. That guy is brilliant. Not into watches, but you know, he is, and that's super, super cool. What chassis? What chassis is rolling this weekend? You can't leave us hanging like that. So how much power do you think it's going to make, Brody? Make a guess. I know it's not science, but come on, give us a guess. How much power did your Stage 1 dyno make, Brody? So John's just at the point where he's getting a tune ready to load in. So we're probably looking at about 15 minutes before he's going to make the next run. This is going to be a long stream, folks. I'm going to just leave this thing running the entire time we're tuning. So just so you know, this thing is going to be going for quite a while. So feel free to dip in and out. I don't expect people to sit here and watch me yammer on for what will probably be almost 3 hours. But yeah. Play for me too, will you? Just buy me a ticket. I haven't bought a lottery ticket in years, but just buy me one. Phone died, switched to the wife's phone. Can I call you Tiffany then? Is that all right, Tiffany? Yes, sir. All right, I'm going to step off the camera for half a second, folks, so you can stare at Kevin's car. I like the whole black and gold vinyl thing you got going on, by the way, Kevin. That looks good. So yeah, this thing's going to be going for quite a while, folks. I will be right back. Yes. Okay. So I just checked with John to make sure I knew what was happening because I don't always know what's happening. Is this volume loud enough right now, folks? Or should I turn it up a bit? I'm going to turn it up a bit. So John corrected me. So the car's doing a read right now. Dodge Darts do a 30-minute read, kind of like the older Fiat 500s. So that's not really a big deal. We're just going to wait and let it do its thing. Right, Johnny? We got 16 minutes. 16 minutes left to go in the read. Okay, that's where we're at. I hope this is a bit of, yeah, an education for you folks, just to see how long this takes. I'm dying to see how long this video is when it's done. Where are we? That's a good question. I had actually seen that too, but I hadn't asked John. Hey, John, you posted the other day about the HP tuners thing, and you had the 124 tagged. Was there a reason you had the 124 tagged?
We are working with them on trying to develop something for the Fiat.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, there is a reason. I guess he's working with them to do something. I know nothing about it. That was the first I've spoken to John about it. Go ahead.
They have the MPC5 processor that's in the Fiat ECUs.
Yeah.
They have the Bosch processor already figured out for the TJ.
Yeah.
In the diesel shit overseas, and then the MPC5, the 8GMF and 8GMK.
Yeah.
They have the 8GMF processor figured out. They can read and write. They're waiting to get the 8GMK figured out. So as soon as they have both those figured out, then we'll be able to use it. The problem being is they don't have any file indexes, and that's where I'm probably going to have to fill in the gaps.
Oh, okay. So you'd be helping them with that part of the development. Gotcha.
There's got to be something that exchanges hands.
Yeah, fair enough. Does that answer your question there, man? I hope that does. So basically, yeah, there is something coming with the HP tuners. John's working with them.
We're not sure if it's going to be coming. We just know that it's
In the works.
It's being talked about.
There you go. It's being talked about. So, you know, there's not going to be a set date or anything, but yeah. Okay, so just to summarize, Wang, he's in talks with them. They are just sorting out how to get the HEMK working. They can do the T-Jets already, and there's obviously a lot of other vehicles in there, but they don't have any of the indexes, so the mapping indexes to tell you what's what inside of the tuning. So John would be helping them to figure that part out, and they would be supplying the hardware on the hardware side. When a tuner really knows the inside of an ECU, they become sought after, and they end up helping other companies on the back end, you know, closed-loop deals that no one will ever hear about, but other tuners do help other tuners in usually different markets, different countries, right? Like John assists people in other countries. Do you not?
All the time. Yeah. We sold all of our Dart index.
You sold the entire Dart index?
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't for much, and I can't tell you who it sold.
That's okay. No need
but
to
like,
that.
yeah, we had 35 calibration files for the Dart, and somebody approached us, and I was like,
That's cool. So basically, John has already done this before. So when he initially started working with the Dart, after he had the indexes created, he actually had a company buy the indexes off him. So like this is the kind of thing that happens in the back end of the tuning world, right? There's different levels of tuners out there. There's the folks that are early on. They focus on one platform, usually early on in their tuning career. You have guys that are really high level that work at big manufacturers. And then you have guys like John who are kind of like the in-between, right? They're of the performance tuners. They're the high end. Like they're the guys that know the most. But, you know, it's a really strange industry. Learning about how it worked from John was quite an education. Just a hair? No problem. Is that a bit better? I hope that's a bit better. Just if it is too loud, just say. I used to work in the automotive performance industry before I met John. Back in the early 2000s, I was working in shops. Back when Honda Civics with Underglow was by far the coolest thing in the world. Fast and the Furious was super exciting and new in the theaters. When the second Fast and the Furious came out, I was working at a shop, and the local theater said, hey, can you guys come down and have a booth outside of the theater? So me and a bunch of car guys sitting there with a booth with performance parts sitting out of a movie theater for like 4 hours. It was an awful idea. Dumbest thing in the world. I don't think anybody sold a single thing, but we just sat there and we didn't even get to watch the movie. It was really irritating. In fact, I wanted to see the movie that day. I had to go see it the next day. It's kind of dumb, but anyhow. But yeah, I miss working in shops. I really kind of do. The only thing is it's like anything else. Eventually you get kind of tired of being cold and sitting in a shop. But I really did like working in the performance industry. That's where a lot of my knowledge comes from, is actually from working in the performance industry beforehand. I've learned a lot more about tuning in cars from John than anyone else, though. I was never anything crazy. I just worked in the shop. But fifth at 4,000. Hesitation in fifth at 4K. So if you floor it in fifth on a multi-air 1.4, you're going to be going pretty quick. And it should be okay at 4,000 RPM, but the car is still experiencing more load. I don't know. It doesn't sound like it should be having any issues. It might be a mapping issue. Maybe it could be plugs, though. how do I phrase this? So a lot of people figure it's the tune by default when they start having car problems. I used to be the same way. But a lot of the times when you start experiencing something after a tune, it's because the tune is just highlighting something that's a weakness in your car. Like maybe you have plugs that haven't been gapped very well. And on the stock tune at 15 pounds of boost, it's okay. But you turn it up to 20 and now you're blowing out your spark. Or let's say you have a really, really tiny boost leak and it's not an issue at 15 PSI, but hit 18 PSI and it just starts leaking more, and now your car runs into a problem. It's more often than you'd expect, not the tune. I would actually experiment with the hardware first, but I would also listen to Kevin and put it back to the stock tune just as a test. Like, that is actually great advice. Defaulting back to the stock tune is, never a bad idea. But, if the tune that you have in your car is what's showing you the issue, it can be nice to kind of play with the hardware while that's in there just to see. But it's, diagnosing a car, it's not the simplest thing all the time, especially in the modern day of the modern computers, right? Because our cars are so computerized that it's so difficult to figure out. Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, by your verbiage, it sounds like you're actually in Europe. But are you in North America, oh my F-bomb? Or are you in Europe? Bit of good news. So my intake on the car so far has been really, really good. I threw one check engine light in between the last video and now. That was for the PCV system. So I'm pretty sure the PCV system actually needs some refinement still, as I was talking about earlier, but not a big deal. Okay, you're in Europe. So yeah, go back to stock for now and see what happens. But, just diagnosing, man, just the best piece of advice I can give you is don't assume it's the tune. Like, do not assume it's the tune. It could be just outlining some broken hardware or some bad hardware. And yeah, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, especially folks in social media, before jumping and assuming that it's the tune that's messing up the car. But hey, I'm guilty of that too. We all are. See, the Abarth Punto, that car is cool. I wish we had that thing here. I really wish we had the Abarth Punto. It's kind of frustrating because I'm sitting here thinking about, well, what car can I buy next after the 124 is done? And John wants me to get a 4C. He also wants me to buy a Giulia. I would love to get a Punto, like the current Abarth model Punto or the most recent Abarth model Punto. Just be fun. 8C. Good Lord, John. John wants me to buy everything. The Biposto intake for the NA cars. I know they're different, but I can't remember off the top of my head what they look like. The Biposto, though, that is a T-Jet engine as well. I guess it could be the same between the two of them. Oh, I didn't know they canceled it. See, that's the thing. We're a little out of date here in North America. We don't know what's going on. Like, if you look at our cars, we still have 500s with the last generation bumpers on the front of them compared to what you folks have. Yeah, it's not really necessary. I don't like brisk plugs. I don't think they're worthwhile. Stock plugs, I've never had an issue with them. Keep a good set in the car, but I've made a boatload of power on the stock plugs and the stock coils. The coils, everyone seems to go for the 4C coils. And, 4C coils, I'm sure they could have a benefit at some point eventually, but I've made a boatload of power on the stock coils. The key to the coils is this. You need to adjust the dwell time on the coils in your tune. So when your tuner tunes your car, if they are worth their salt in multi-year tuning, they're going to adjust the coil dwell time. That way you don't have to worry about going and buying new, stronger coils. And there's a static limit. There's an upper limit in terms of what you can do with the dwell time on coils. You'll just straight burn them up at a certain point, but a little bit of dwell time isn't going to hurt nothing, and you won't need coils. Just eliminates that need. Yeah, well, you were also an AC sponsored car, Kevin. I didn't say that. I never say anything. Yeah. And that's an NGK stock plug. Like NGK, the stockish plugs, that's all you need, man. though. Wait, sorry. I don't know the Bravo. I don't know the Bravo. Yeah, stick with the NGKs. No brisk. No brisks. Perfect. Yeah, they sell yeah, I'm pretty sure they sell OEM plugs. I'm never on their site, but I'm pretty sure they must sell them. I think a lot of Fiat tuners sell the OEM plug options. So what do you say, Alex? Which is the right one? Yeah, no brisks. Please do not run brisks. That might actually be useful, like a slightly colder plug. That could have its purpose for sure. Okay. So the exhaust manifold, if you're talking about the exhaust manifold, I don't know what the design is like. It could be different. Like on the 124 and the 500, they have really similar looking manifolds, but the 124 has the turbo move towards the front of the car. So the port for the turbo is actually farther towards the front. So, it wouldn't work on a 500, at least in terms of directly bolting up the turbo. So I'm not really sure. You know what? The person that probably asked that might actually be Rocky Ninja. That guy has some good knowledge on the European vehicles and access to check things. He might know. Worth asking him. I'm speaking about the Bravo with the 150 horsepower T-Jet engine. He's asking about the manifold. It's funny, we never got the IHI turbo here in North America. All we got was the GT 1446. 6 minutes until it's done the read, for your information. Anyhow, we only got the 1446 here. That's it. We never got the IHI turbo. Like even our Fiat 500 Sport Turbo, or now just the Fiats in general. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't looked at the power numbers on the general Fiats, but they're all just tuned down to 150 horsepower, or sorry, 135 horsepower. But they still have that same 1446, right? So I don't know why they didn't give us the IHI. It's kind of a curiosity for me. Thank you, Alex. A Bravo is another type of Fiat, my friend. It's another Fiat. Yeah, we never had the IHIs. They give us all 1446s. When you buy an Abarth 500 in North America, you're getting a car that horsepower-wise is more like an SS. You're getting 160 horsepower 1446. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, what's funny though is the Giulia engine has IHI turbos. Well, here, actually, I'll grab the Giulia turbos. Give me 1 second. Okay, so this is the turbo from a Giulia. It's an IHI turbo. It's similar in size to the Fiat 500 or the GT 1446. Similar. But I've not really... Oh, excuse me. Sorry. I've not really looked into the specs too much yet of this particular snail. John's looked into it more. It's, I'm going to be honest, I haven't been too interested in this part. I'm more concerned with fitment and just getting it in. And my focus lately has been just on the built engine part. I want to get that done and over with. It's funny, I want to get that chapter completed. That built engine is something I started forever ago and just never ended up getting around to, which is kind of silly. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I want to get that in, get it done, make a number, and then say goodbye to the 1.4, at least for the 124. Yes, Steph AB might know. I was talking to Steph AB earlier today in messages. I've got a project that I'm working on that I want him to be involved in. I won't say anything else though, but yeah. I've got a really exciting project coming up. I'm actually gushing about this project. I can't wait to get this on the go. This is going to be, what I'll tell you is I'm working on an actual documentary. I want to put together a video about essentially, well, you guys know what I do. It's about Abarths and Fiats and Italian cars, but yeah, either way, I'm working on a documentary right now and I'm going to, yeah, Steph and I are talking, but yeah. I'd love to go to England and meet the guy, actually. I love his channel. Yeah, but, people sometimes need to move on. And if it's your everyday car, right, sometimes you just got to change your daily. And, just because he doesn't have one now doesn't mean the guy might not get one later in time. I have no idea. But, And at least he picked a decent vehicle. Like, come on. His AMG is cool. It's super cool. And, you know, he's still very much part of the Fiat scene. Yeah. I don't know. If I was to switch off Fiats, I don't think I'd ever leave the Fiat scene. But, yeah, I also don't see myself switching off a Fiat anytime soon. Definitely. The Giulietta Multier comes with the 1446. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, the Giulietta and the Dart, the carb. So, okay, folks in Europe, just so you know, the Giulietta, same platform as the Dart. They took the Giulietta and then made a Dodge out of it. The body looks completely different, but architecturally they're the same cars. Now, I was in England a while back, saw Giulietta in person. Okay, if you've ever seen a Giulietta in pictures, they look okay. If you see them in person, they're amazing, especially in red. It's just phenomenal looking car. Really surprising, actually.
Stevio.
Huh? What?
Stevio.
Stevio? Stelvio?
Stevio.
What about Stelvio?
Talking about cars to buy.
Oh, get a Stelvio? I'm not much of an SUV. Okay, let me ask you folks. When the 124 project's done, what car do I buy next? I'm not going to get rid of the 124. Let me be abundantly clear about that. When this is all said and done, like, you know, you always change your mind later in time, but in my mind, we're talking about a forever car here. Like, you don't just do something like this and get rid of it. Not in my mind, at least. But what do I get? Yeah, John just said Stelvio, which is interesting. But, like, I don't know. If an SUV is really what I want. Huh? Oh, a 6-second Stelvio.
What? Stutter?
Yeah?
No.
No?
No. That's the same transmission that you can get the Jeep Hellcat.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that. Same transmission that's in the Hellcat? That is super cool.
The Jeep Hellcat.
Yeah. A lot of modern SUVs really don't drive like SUVs. They do drive a lot more like cars, like completely, you know, out of the same vein. But, you know, John had a Tucson. John does a lot of Hyundai and Kia stuff as well. He's really into his Stinger, which is freaking awesome. But anyhow, so he had a Tucson here. And the one day I was in the Tucson with him. And yeah, it drives like a car. It seems like you're in a car. And that's the way a lot of these SUVs are getting these days, which is kind of cool. I think my bias towards SUVs is probably a little unnecessary, but I think anything SRT is mind-changing. No. Well, this is the thing. I would drive what? Well, that dyno that they use is only good up to about 500 foot-pounds of torque, and then it becomes inaccurate. That's okay. Alex. The Dim Sport dyno, what is the maximum amount of power one of those can measure? I'm pretty sure Alex is still in here. So Alex Como, what is the maximum power rating for a Dim Sport dyno before it becomes inaccurate? We'll wait for him to come up with that, but there is a really low limit. To give you guys an idea, a dyno jet is... John, what's the upper limit of a dyno jet for before the curve starts getting a little off?
It depends on what upgrade you're on. Mine currently is 2000.
Yeah.
I think they have a patch now that'll go 3,000, 3,000.
That's cool. So John's is accurate up to 2,000 horsepower. And if you're running a 2,000 horsepower car, well, I'm impressed. But yeah, it's 2,000 before it becomes inaccurate. So, you know, this is why industry standard dynos are important, right? They're reliable. They are accurate up to at least a certain point, right? As opposed to, you know, a dyno that dies off and becomes inaccurate at 500, which raises a question: how the hell do you tune a QV if your dyno's inaccurate past 500? But anyhow, 700. Okay, so that's not terrible. 700 per axle, really, but it's still, yeah, that is funny. No, just because you say something's the best doesn't make it the best. Something being the best that's an earned term, not something you just apply to someone. A new plant announcement in Michigan? Sorry, for what? I love what's going on in Michigan these days. I'm glad North American cars have gotten so much better over the years. Not that I'm driving one at the moment, but yeah, it is kind of nice. I love what the SRT stuff does. Oh, so I think the read is done. So John, what's the next step now that the read is done?
Who's done?
Now that the read is done, what's next?
The read?
Are you done reading?
Well, I just looked inside the ECU and I looked inside my tuning file, and I actually have a stage 1 and stage 2 tune for this car. I have no idea why, but I already have map index made and everything. So all the time I spent last night populating 300 plus maps was wasted.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't catch that first time around. So I'm going to load the questionable tune into the car, and we're going to see what it makes. And then I'm going to start working on my tune, but I'm probably going to grab one of my bass tunes.
Yeah.
Load it and see what happens.
Okay. All right. So just to catch up on what that means. So John is now just finishing up what he's doing. He's going to load in the EC tune that he copied off Kevin's car before he got rid of the handheld. Anyhow, he's going to load that in. He's going to see how much power it makes, find out what it does. And then as soon as he's done that, then he starts his tuning process. So this is what I'm talking about by it's a long process. We've been online for 50 minutes, and he's managed to run the car on the dyno twice. And he's just getting ready to load in the first tune. So that's the way it is. Yeah, they should be called Ram Jeep these days. Why would they replace the Giulietta? I guess it makes sense they're replacing it with the CUV. Everyone wants something that's more utilitarian, but it's too bad. I don't know. I like having cars on the road. Like, not everything needs to be an SUV or a CUV, but whatever. That's okay. It is what it is. I just won't buy one. Besides, they probably wouldn't give it to us anyways. Lifted cars for everyone. Yep, that's right. I like to roll on my 22-inch wheels, lifted 42 inches. Rolling coal. Fair enough. It is most profitable, and things are for business. Yeah. I actually saw that recently. Mexico. Much more interesting. It's funny the stuff that we get here in North America compared to what happens in Europe, in Mexico, and wherever else. Oh, I guess Mexico's in North America. I never think about that because I'm in Canada. I think everything south of the United States is South America. So just don't listen to me. What is... Anyhow. Yeah. All right, so bear with us. I'll be back in about 30 seconds. I'm just going to run over to the other room. I got to keep reminding myself that I am filming an episode right now. Ooh. If any of y'all ever get into YouTube, these are good. Just using your phone camera. They're a great way to start. I love this thing. This is just a Sony a6000. If you ever get into cameras, folks, great bang for the buck. My only issue with this one is it doesn't have a microphone input, which drives me nuts. But the built-in mics are really good. Anyhow, I'm going to go talk to this mic for 1 second. I'll be right back.
Oh my God, what is the time on YouTube?
A little bit.
Fuck, a little bit.
Okay, so John's done reading the file, and now he's getting a tune loaded into the car. I did that wrong. Wait, what? No, every car stopped reading.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, come on.
I can hear myself.
You're long enough to get feedback. Okay, let's try that again. All right, so John's done reading the file. Now he's about to load in another tune. He's loading in a tune from Euro Compulsion that was written for this turbo. Now, I suspect it's not a completed tune, but it's really close to the end of the day, so it must be relatively close at least. Now, Kevin's dynoed this on another dyno down the street before, and he knows the number that came out of that thing. And I'll tell you right now, I believe it was about 180 something. But different dyno, so we're going to test it on this dyno. We know this dyno a lot better. This is the dyno we've been doing everything on. So I'm super curious to see what happens, and I'm sure Johnny is as well. Let's give the man a few minutes, and then see what happens. Hard to remind yourself to keep making videos when you're sitting here talking to a camera already. Unfortunately, while you're doing loading of files, you can't run the car just for fun. You need to let the car sit completely idle. Like when John's 184. Thank you, John. So whenever we're doing stuff with my car, it sucks because John will complain. I'm not allowed to open my trunk. I can't touch a lot of the stuff on the car when he's tuning, just for fear that something electrical will happen. It will brick the ECU or it'll stop it from reading or whatever. I think it's more of a precaution than anything else. But 176 and fourth. What's the 1-to-1 gear in a Dart? Not that it matters too much, but what is a 1-to-1 gear in a Dart? Fifth gear?
And fifth gear is like 098, and then like sixth gear is no. Fourth gear is like 098.
The fourth gear
is like 116. And
okay. All right. So fourth gear is closer to 1-to-1, Kevin. So that's a good thing. So the 184 is probably more accurate than 176, which is positive. The Mark 8? You got to be talking about Volkswagens. Yes, you see Eddie in his somewhat natural habitat. It's John usually doing the prey stalking. Okay, 700 is the number we're aiming for. That's all I'll say. Well, John, when there's a live stream going on, there ends up being a chat thing where you can start typing. Are you trying to watch the live stream? I think John's trying to watch the live stream from inside of the Dart, which is kind of funny. Yeah, there he is. He commented.
okay.
Oh, okay. Kevin just sent me a picture of his dyno. So let's see if you guys can see this. I don't know if you'll be able to, but we can try. Looks like it's a mirror image. That's kind of annoying. But yeah, you guys get the idea. I know that's backwards, but that says 184. So that was the dyno that Kevin had done when he still had the EC tune in the car. Which is super close to what it's getting with the stock tune, but different dyno. That doesn't really mean anything until we see what it does on this dyno. It'll be really, really, really cool to see. I'm dying to see this. Oh, John's answering questions. Look at him go.
I just answered a couple questions.
Gotcha. Yeah, thank you, Lorenzo. That's perfect. So Rocky Ninja posted up all of the gear ratios. So if you want to know what the gear ratios are for the Dart, they are all right there. Now, it's funny. John made a comment when he was pulling this thing in. He's like, oh, I want this transmission in mine. He's referring to his 500. I think John wants to try and stuff the 6-speed in there. A lot of folks have always talked about stuffing the 6-speed into their car or into a 500. Sorry, I'm talking about the Fiat 500. So for those of you that weren't here before, John has a Fiat 500 on the way, and he kind of made a comment pulling it in. He'd love to stuff the 6-speed into it. Here in North America, the biggest, baddest transmission you can get in your Abarth 500 is the C510, which is the standard 5-speed manual. There is some additional subframe bracing, if I recall, that blocks you from being able to put in some of the transmissions they use in Europe. But yeah, very, 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 very smart guy has been mapping out some interesting stuff you can do with an Abarth 500. And he said if we notch out a certain area, there's a certain 6-speed that will fit in there. But yeah, rad guy. Super smart guy. He was in one of our videos. Whoa. So you guys have anyone have any questions for John or I while we're sitting here killing time, tuning cars? If you have any questions, just post them up. John's reading in his car. I'm sitting here staring at my screen somewhat at least. And yeah, we're open to any question you guys have while we're sitting here waiting for the tune stuff to occur. Yeah, the new Veloster N actually doesn't look too bad. I'm not the biggest Hyundai fan in terms of the appearance of the cars, but they have been making pretty good cars recently. They really, really have. And yeah, the G70, G80, and G90. Oh, good Lord. Oh, I would love a G70 with the twin turbo 3.3. I never thought I would say that about a Hyundai. It's pretty rad. If you guys have never been in the 3.3 twin turbo, that engine is serious. Super serious. John's car, John's Stinger is no joke. Good Lord, that is no joke. Before it was even at the point it's at, we would take the black 124, making 247 wheel horsepower out with the Stinger. No, you just can't keep up with that car. That Stinger is just mental. It was probably a full second off his car in terms of quarter mile. Easy. I don't know. Is the i30 available in the States? I don't know. I've never really looked into them. I'm kind of curious myself. I think there was a British YouTuber. His name's Alex. What's his channel? Car Throttle. Oh, those guys are hilarious. He drove one a while back, and he absolutely loved the thing. It's too bad they don't have it here. I think that a lot of manufacturers just think we don't like small cars. Yeah, right? That's disappointing. Oh, no worries, man. Work takes place all the time. Work is more important than anything. You can't do car stuff if you don't have money coming in, right? Yeah, that's a lot of the Hyundai stuff's been pretty good in terms of the handling, though. Like, even the Stinger, for its bulky ass, is seemingly pretty good. I have been in the thing when it spun out once, but it wasn't John driving. It wasn't me either. How to gap iridium plugs with magic and fairy dust. Most car things can be fixed with magic and fairy dust. That's how most things get fixed. I rely on it. It's the only way my Fiat makes any power, but magic and fairy dust. Yeah. We're going to throw my car on the dyno this weekend. Kind of curious what it's doing after everything that was done last weekend. It still feels stronger. I think it actually might be hitting a torque limiter periodically, though, because one thing it's never done before is now, after the car's warmed up, I can get into it, and it feels hot. But then after a couple runs, it feels not so hot. So the tune that's in the car still is that same neutered tune John had put in the car for the broken whatever the hell is going on with that engine. So post cleaning the multi-air, post intake, post blah, 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 car feels better. And I think I might be hitting a limiter. So I don't know if it's even worth taking a look at, but it doesn't really matter. Maybe John will. Maybe he won't. It's up to him. Right, John? I never even told him about that. He doesn't know that. That's the first time I've said that. John, my 124. So after it's heated up and I drive it, feels great. Feels like a hot. It's quick. But then after a couple pulls, it feels not quick. It's hitting a limiter. I think it's hitting a limiter somewhere. Something we did might have brought enough power back that it's tripping a limiter.
We do have some sort of crazy gangster tune in your car right now.
Yeah, well, we had to in order to keep the car running.
Yeah, because the multi-air was freaking out. Do you think that filter might have caused some problems?
I have no idea, man. I'm not going to guess, but maybe. I don't really want to harbor any guesses.
I don't want to harbor any guesses, but for you to say the car's running better.
That says something.
Right.
We need to throw it on the dyno. I think that's ultimately it. We need to throw the 124 on the dyno. We'll do that while I'm down here. And don't worry, I'll make sure that I record that. I'm dying to know what happens. Yeah, Hyundai took a couple BMW engineers, if I recall. That's done a lot. Like, if you've ever driven a Gen Coupe even, they're pretty well-sorted cars, really. A friend of mine, he got rid of it now, but he had a big turbo cammed Haltech phenomenal Genesis. And he was doing that right when the car was coming out too. Like he was running a big turbo back when I'd had my Fiat 500 for maybe a year. That thing was just absolutely monster. Need to get more E85, Alex. I haven't seen any of the Gymkhana stuff yet. None of it. The new stuff that they've been up to, I have not had time to catch up. I really want to watch that stuff. I'm going to save it for one day. Maybe that'll be my Monday night. But yeah, I heard it's really good. The Hoonigans do a lot of really great stuff. It's those boys set the bar high. Yeah. I drove my 500 through the snow. So I drove my Fiat 500 across Canada, one way and back. And it was okay in snow for the couple times I experienced. Except for, so I was on my way back, and I decided to go up north into near Saskatchewan. Now, this is in the autumn, getting close to winter. So I got up to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to keep going down. So then I drove south towards Calgary. Well, it started icing out, and I mean icing. It was just pure ice falling from the sky. And then it started to snow. And I ended up doing about 10, 15 kilometers an hour, which is like nothing miles per hour, for hours down the road. And the highway got close, so then I had to go to back roads. And fortunately, I was getting closer to Calgary, but I ended up with my lowered Fiat 500 on top of a snow berm in the middle of a back road in Alberta. And, a lot of you folks are American or from other areas in the world. Go to a map of Canada and look at Alberta. Now, look about an hour north of Calgary, or let's say about 80 kilometers north of Calgary. Take a look at how little is there. Canada, for those who don't know, most of the population lives right at the border. And the majority of them are either in Ontario in the east, in Quebec, or they're in Vancouver. And the rest is really sparsely populated. Like the entire population of Canada is about equivalent to New York City-ish, right? So there's no one out there. Anyhow, I was stuck for about an hour and a half until I got a hold of my friend Johnny O, who happened to live in Calgary, happened to be a complete gearhead, another Evo guy. And yeah, we'll say Johnny O at the end of the day, he's my hero. I hung out with that guy, stayed there for the night in Calgary. If you've never done a long road trip across this continent and you live here, you need to do it. Good Lord. I've driven across Canada, I think, 3 times now. And I've driven a good chunk of the U.S. now as well. And it is one of the most phenomenal drives you will ever experience. I'm Canadian, but I will say that I really, really enjoyed the U.S. roads better. The scenery that you see as you're going down through Salt Lake City and then across going east is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I highly encourage anyone that ever wants to just do it. Stop thinking and just plan it and do it. I was surprised by how flat Kansas was. Kansas is flat. Kansas is really flat. But there are some amazing areas in Kansas too. So when I went to visit Alex on my way to the Tail of the Dragon, Alex took me on a back road in the 124, and it was just phenomenal. Really, really nice area. It's when you look at somewhere like Kansas or Alberta or Saskatchewan, on the whole, all you see is a giant flat place until you get up personal and get to know them. Then it's absolutely astonishing. I'll call you a hero anyways. I guess Johnny's watching because he's texting me. Love it. Yeah, you gave me a place to stay for a night, man. And there was no way I was getting anywhere else, Johnny-O. You're my hero. Yes. And you need to come back out so we can go drag racing again, Mr. Evo guy with your new Evo. Oh. Yeah, you're always going to come across some boring things to drive through. But, it's part of the experience. One of my favorite parts about driving across the United States was when I got into some of those rocky mesa areas and it's kind of sandy. I actually pulled my car over just so I could touch the ground. It was like salty, sandy. It was rad. The goods just delivered. Yeah, it does get rolling as you're heading out farther into the east. I don't know what the mountain range is, but there is a mountain range. It's like the Adirondacks or the Appalachians or something attached to those mountains. I can't say I exactly know. Okay, that's fair. If you live at the Dragon, yeah, you are already in a phenomenal spot. But I think everyone needs to drive everywhere. Seeing the same thing every day gets kind of boring. Hey, Nathaniel. They say something about your pet. So if you own a dog, you should take it on different walks to see different things. You shouldn't always do the same walk because apparently, I'm no veterinarian, I'm not a psychologist, but apparently it's better for your pet's mental health. I think humans are the same way. You know, we need to see different things. We need to travel and go different places. So, you know, yeah, the Dragon's amazing, but you should see the mountains in BC, man. Only about, I don't know, 10% of BC is flat. The rest of it's all mountains. Come drive here, man. It's fun. Water meth injection. I heard rumor of a fast 500. A very fast 500 with a 1752 on water meth. I met the guy at the Dragon. He didn't have the tune he has now, though, and as soon as I heard about that, I want to run him. I want to run that car. Got it. I would love to do a giant quarter-mile meet. Just a giant quarter-mile meet and just dominate the place with Fiats. Now, Fiats, no, they are not the best drag racing cars in the world. Like, if you really love drag racing, like really love it, you're probably going to get something else. But it's still a ton of fun, and there's nothing wrong with doing it. And I love it. I love running on the quarter mile. At some point, I will get a real quarter mile car. But yeah, it'd be fun if we all got a bunch of people and just went and did a giant quarter mile day. Somewhere in like middle America that lots of people could get to, or that'd be a lot of fun. Okay, so John's heating the car up. He's warming it up. This is, I'm guessing, the warming stage of the tune. Anyone who owns a Fiat that is, or a Dart, or anything that's from 2013-ish, 14, they have a heat up cycle where the engine has to hit a certain temperature. And if you hold the accelerator down just a bit, it helps get the temperature up there a bit quicker. But that looks like what John's doing right now. 250 horsepower, a bigger turbo. So if it's going to be a 1752, if it's on this dyno, John thinks he could have gotten a bit further than he did, but we hit 247 with E85 turbo front mount and E85 injectors and an intake and a downpipe. That's what was on the car for 247. My 500 was TD05, front mount intercooler. It had a water to air eventually as well, but for making that power, it's not as important. But yeah, TD04 suggestion, that's a good one for 250. That will hit 250 on pump gas. TD04 is mildly bigger than a 1752, for those that don't know. It's actually a good match. Like my TD05, the exhaust side was way too big for daily driving, and I liked it. I like peak power, but I think a lot of folks probably would have gone absolutely mental having to drive my 500 when it was below about 3K. After 3K, it was great. 3,500-ish was where it was really good. But yeah, you know, it's, if you like to daily drive your car and you want low end, a TD04 looks like a great option. The guys in Europe have had phenomenal luck with them. 1752 is a great turbo for the car. The one benefit that a 1752 will always have over these stuffed turbos is the additional stack height in the compressor. What that means is, if you look at this here Giulia turbo, the stack height is referring to the stack of the compressor from this side over to here. It's the depth. So a 1752 is deeper in here, and you can fit a bigger wheel, a higher stack height. Now, when I say it's a 37 millimeter turbo, the 1752, that is the measurements of this inlet, of the wheel in this inlet. So the 1752 is 37 millimeters from the tip there to the tip there. That's the inducer. So just to clarify, this EC turbo has a 40 millimeter inducer. How do I know? I measured it. The turbo that's going in my car into the 124 with the built engine is 42 millimeters, for example. It's a slight difference. It's a little bit bigger, but not much. But that's not the only number that matters when it comes to turbos either. So an almost moot point. Yeah, it's if you guys want to see how to blow past 250, yeah, just keep watching over the next month. We're not stopping at 250 on the white 124. If I'm putting a built motor in this car to be in there for at least a month, yeah, I don't want a 250 horsepower car again. I'd rather have more. And in theory, the new turbo should support 300, 320 horsepower, so long as you have the bottom end to support it. And I have a bottom end sitting right over there. I'm super excited. Can I flip this? Because it's like I'm looking in a mirror. See, this is backwards. The shop is actually this way, and it looks really weird seeing it like this. So weird. That's okay. Yeah, anyone who wants John to go back into the dart market, you should just email him. Bombard him. Tell him you want him to come back to the dart market. It's I think that's the way a lot of companies work, to be honest. If they see the need, they come to the market. So really it's up to the people to say, hey, we want you here. So if you guys want John to do something, yell at him. Ask John about me yelling at him about the 124. All right, I'm going to see what John's up to. I want to see how close we are to doing the next dyno run, because I'm dying to see what happens. Okay, so just as I went back there, the heat cycle was finishing, which means the tube's pretty much loaded. So in all fairness, it's not like this thing's getting a ton of adaptive time. It's just going to be run on the dyno. So we can say there's probably a couple horsepower at adaptive time, plus or minus, because sometimes adaptive time does mean a negative in horsepower. Don't assume that adaptive time on your tune means you're going to get more. Sometimes it means you're going to get less, just to be abundantly clear. But yeah. Oh, flex fuel. Flex fuel is a bit more complicated. Yeah, like even when I had my 85 injectors, I would have loved to have flex fuel, but that is definitely a bit more complicated thing. I would love flex fuel on any car. I love running 85. It is by far my favorite fuel. I'm more than willing to change my oil regularly just so I can use that stuff. But flex fuel would make it so much easier. It's cold in this shop, hey? Look at that. We are north. It's funny, whenever I come down here, I always meet different Americans, and I'm the Canadian. I'm the Canadian that hangs out at the shop. And it's really funny. We don't have igloos in Vancouver, I promise. No igloos. John would find out if he'd actually come up to Canada. Guys, I've known John for how long? How many times has he come to visit me? Like, I'm a little bit offended. I would love it if he would come and visit, but he never comes to say hi. It's like the guy doesn't care. I'm crying a little bit. When I go home, I cry. He's not even in the car. Perfect. He didn't see that. He has no idea what that means. Oh, Tim's. So if you're American, Tim's is Tim Hortons. Every Canadian, upon re-entering Canada, the first thing that they do by default is buy Tim Hortons coffee. Whether you like it or not, it's mandatory. I have a friend flying out from England in February, and the first thing I'm going to make sure that man has in his hands is a Tim Hortons coffee, because he's been in England for years. I guarantee he has not had a proper Tim Hortons coffee. No, he's been having a nice cuppa with Nescafe. If you've ever been to England, it's a lot of instant coffee. Now, he loves instant coffee, so I'm sure that's okay, but anyhow. Yeah. North of Windsor. Yeah, I grew up in Cambridge, like about 2.5 hours, 3 hours from there. That's where I grew up. Yeah. Your catch can in the trunk, Kevin? Kevin wants me to look at his catch can in the trunk, I think. Is that right? There's definitively a delay between what I say and what you folks hear. I'm realizing that. Okay, catch can in the trunk. Okay, I got your catch can. On the door of what? Yeah, Canadians are easily confused. I'm very easily confused. Why am I grabbing this? Your old catch can? Good enough? Good Lord. Okay, hold on. There's no EC on the door. Kevin used to. There's no EC on the door. Kevin used to have EC on that door, but there isn't one. Didn't catch what? Your catch can? I can't hold on to the thing for the life of me. Oh! Oh! Still good? Start the auctioning off at 50 cents. All donations go to Kevin, making his car faster. Do I see 50 cents? Can I get a 50 cent? 50 cents? Can I get a 50 cents? Blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, I don't know what you want this for, Kevin, but I'll throw it in the garbage for you. How about a mop bucket? Good enough. Yeah, it's the same as the one you get off Alibaba. The AAD. How is the AAD catch can? I used to have their torque strut back in the day in my 500. Yeah, no, we'll just put it in the garbage and let the garbage man take it away. 50 cents Canadian. Yeah, that's like a penny American. We don't have pennies in Canada anymore, though. Our smallest denomination is 5 cents. All right, so John is actually really close. We shouldn't have to wait too much longer. What? Really? It's a catch can. Like, seriously? It's $300? Okay. No, I don't ever go on their site, man. I never go on their site. Someone finally linked me to something. I went on the 124 forum for the first time in ever, like a day ago. Hate that forum. I won't go on anything auto guide at this point, ever. I boycott all auto guide forums. If a vendor can have you kicked out because they think that your videos are too good, I'm not really interested in participating. There's no valid, useful info there, really, outside of some of the stereo stuff anyways. Useless forum. Yeah, there's still a couple things that John needs to sort out. Like, I want to make sure it's perfect before I'm willing to say that I like that catch can. But, you know, it stopped the oil from getting in the intake so far. That's good. But there is still some work that needs to be done. If that catch can system will work on my car, it'll work on any car. That's not bad. It's $50 cheaper than the other one. Yeah, I did just throw away an EC catch can. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, the Mishimoto ones are really cheap. I had one in my car. It didn't really catch much. My black 124. I had a Mishimoto catch can. And, you know, it was easy to install and everything, but it just didn't really catch much. And catch cans are all about the design of the chambering in terms of, you know, how effective it is. And maybe that car just didn't put out a lot of oil, but I don't know. No idea. The AAD guys make some relatively nice stuff. Like, the quality that went into the stuff last time I saw was really good. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I don't really know. But, yeah. You know what a catch can does, though, right, Jacob? Kind of, Alex. It's actually a little bit different. I'll send you a diagram of what was actually done. But it's 2 divorced cans, categorically. Actually, Alex, I think you'll like what has been the end decision. All right, what we think will be the end decision. I don't know. It's getting the catch can system to be perfect is going to be a challenge. Considering what we're essentially making up for is the fact that there's not enough baffling in a Fiat's valve cover. More noticeable on the 124 because the points that are connected to the PCB system point straight out of the valve cover instead of up like the 500s. So the lack of baffling is really, really bad. A lot of oil gets out through those ports. Actually, here. Here's something you folks might want to see. So this is the inside of a 124's black box. So it's a really, really bizarre design. So these are essentially check valves. And when the top was on, there was little plastic tabs that stopped these from opening really far. So this tube can blow in here, and then if this is closed, the air will go through a channel on the underside and come out through here and go back into the valve cover. On the other side is this one. This goes to the back of the valve cover. Air comes through here. It meets up at the drain, which is also ventilation at the same time. It all comes up through here, and then it's basically baffled with multiple layers to catch the oil. This right here, the whole point of these little holes, best I can figure out, is this is designed so when when oil starts to come back up through this, it essentially gets trapped. There's less air pressure, I'm assuming, which would help keep the oil down. Really bad way to describe it, but it's a really bizarre system. But like at one point, under certain conditions, you'll have air coming in here, rushing through here, and then it goes out through here, down into this little hole, back up through here, and then out into the intake. It's the strangest thing. It has a bunch of varying modes. Right here, this is a check valve. This check valve, it's basically a drain, so oil can go back down through this. It's the weirdest thing. And it's all there to essentially make up for the fact that the car does consume too much oil. Mostly, I suspect, I don't know what John will say exactly, but I suspect it's the baffling. There's not enough baffling in the valve cover. I think I actually just said this to John the first time a few days back. But yeah, it is the strangest thing. Now, I haven't cut apart a 500 one. John hasn't cut apart a 500 one. So I would love to see the inside of a 500s. That would be interesting. The 500s does it slightly different. So the 124, it can't sit on top of the valve cover like a 500. There's not enough room. There's not enough engine clearance. So the 500, this drains straight down into the valve cover itself and also acts as the second vent as well at the same time. So you have only 2 ports to deal with. It's slightly different, but I think the 500s is more efficient just because it doesn't have to come up with a way to drain like this. It's really too bad, but whatever. It's an education. Yes, absolutely. You know, that is the point of a catch can. Perfect. It's really funny though, just because of how silly the 500s and the 124 system is. It's all just, in my opinion, to make up for the lack of baffling because the multi-air takes up so much space. Like here, let me show you something. Okay, multi-air cylinder head. Look at how much room multi-air takes up compared to that camshaft. That is a lot of space being taken up by multi-air. Anyhow, that's why I think it's a baffling issue. Okay, I'm gonna grab my camera and film this, folks. So John is about to run the EC tune on the dyno. Just like last time, I'm gonna take a photo of the power number and post it straight to my Facebook. I'm gonna get out of the way so you can see. Say hi to the camera, folks. So right now, like I said, he's on the EC tune that he copied out of the car before Kevin got rid of the handheld. Just to clarify, Kevin put his car back to stock. So John copied it before he did that. I have a feeling someone's trying to do something around that, so I want to make sure you folks know that. Devious. Okay, folks, so that was run on the EC tune. He's going to go again because the car is actually running incredibly lean on this tune. It might just, but I don't know if it's necessarily the tune. He thinks maybe it's the way the air fuels are being read. So before jumping to that conclusion, he's going to make sure everything's okay, but the car is running really lean on this tune. I'm posting up the number. It was definitely more power, which is nice to see. Okay, guys, guess how much power it made on the EC tune? I'm getting ready to post it on my Facebook. I'm not going to do it yet until I see some guesses. How much power did the EC tune make on that car? We have one guess at 220, 185, 217, 190. Yeah, Barth chat is very, very EC, but some of the folks have really been positive on the torque stuff lately too, which is great to see. 185, 188, 190, 193, 214, 216, 185. Okay, I'm going to post it right now. The answer is 195. So the EC tune with their turbo on John's dyno made 195 horsepower. Now, he's going to run it again. That was only one pull. One pull's not enough to make a judgment on, in my opinion, so let's let John run the car on the dyno again. Yes, you were the closest, man. By far, you were the closest. All right, looks like he's going to go again. I got to film this, folks. I just shared the picture. 192 horsepower in fourth gear. And I'm going to tell the live folks right now that was 192 that time in fourth gear. The first pull was actually third gear. I'm going to post up all the dyno sheets, or actually it's better if John does. So John will post up all the dyno sheets on his Facebook page. You guys can look to John for those dyno numbers. It's his dyno. Phase 5.76. Is that one made for the disco potato? Where you do quad disco potatoes in your car, one on each port? I think that's the one. Anyhow, 192 horsepower in fourth gear. I'm going to post... Actually, I didn't get a picture of that. I'll take a picture of it in just a second and get it up on my Facebook page so you guys can see that. Hilarious. Ooh. All right, so I think he's going to do another run still. Hopefully he'll do a couple more. Phase 2 on John's dyno depends on the car. Like, if you have, like, everything on your car fully 100%, like, Biagio, he made 202 on John's dyno. Now, the car bucked and cut out as far as I know, but I don't know. Actually, I can't say. That's up for him to say, but you know, he made a couple hundred horsepower on his phase 2. That was on John's dyno, though, and different dynos read differently. My stock turbo Fiat 500 made with, my stock turbo Fiat 500 with a 3-inch intake, stock intercoolers, and a downpipe, and a throttle body, and John's tune made 202 horsepower. So not full bolt-ons. I'm pretty sure I have more pull on YouTube than they do. You can. Oh, hell yeah. That's absolutely right. So I'm going to drive my car south until I'm somewhere warm enough that the quarter mile is still open. I don't have to go to an office. I work on a computer remotely. I mostly do web development these days and IT. I don't need to be anywhere. So I figure I would take my laptop on the road and go work remotely somewhere where there's a quarter mile. Because there's no way I'm going to put a built engine in the 124 with a stuffed turbo and not run the quarter mile. That is an utter waste of an engine install as far as I'm concerned. I want to know how fast that thing can go. Like, seriously. Smashing keyboards, yeah, right? Oh, where are you? What state are you that you can go year-round? Because the track that I'm leaning towards right now is whatever track Greg is using. If that's a year-round track, I'm going to go to that one. Yes. Yeah, some cars are like that. Sorry, specifically, I'm speaking to Bert. Yeah, some cars, depending on the year, end up being faster on the stock tune. A friend of mine, I have the dyno sheets for this as well. He has an automatic convertible Fiat 500, a Bart, and he was running phase 2. And we came down here, and we dynoed the car on phase 2, phase 1. I think we even did phase 0, and then stock. Stock was 155 horsepower. Phase 0 was 158-ish horsepower. Phase 1 was 162 horsepower. Or sorry, yeah, phase 1 was 162. I think phase 2 was 166. His car made all of 166 horsepower. The autos tend to be more difficult to make power on. Ah, bingo. You have an auto 2015. That might do it. There's not a lot of, I think more time needs to be spent dynoing those automatic 500 Abarths. Because a lot of them, most of them that I've experienced, aren't making the power that you'd be expecting. Like, yeah, there's more drivetrain loss because it's an automatic, but not that much more. Not like, 20 horsepower differential. That's a big difference. You never know, Jacob. You never know. Like, get on a dyno. Just get it tested, right? Every dyno reads differently. They all do. But it's worth checking, right? If you are at 190-ish, I guarantee, unless you're on the happiest dyno in the world, you get on another dyno and you'll see that 200. Number chasing is a frustrating thing, right? Like, I got into number chasing. A lot of guys that get into cars get into number chasing. But if you go on one dyno and it says you make 280 horsepower, and then you're on another dyno and it says you make 130, but your car hasn't been changed and it feels the same between the two dynos, does it really matter what the number is? Now, that said, I'm not saying it's okay to say you can't dyno the cars, but like, it doesn't matter. You pick a dyno, get started there, use that as your baseline. Because I think it's more important that you get a baseline tune with a stock car, and let's say it makes 120 horsepower, and tunes, you end up making 170. That's great. That's phenomenal. That's a big gain, and it's just as good as, you know, let's say you made 160 stock and you make the same gain and end up, I don't remember the numbers, but what, 210 or something? Same difference ultimately. There's a little bit of a difference, but essentially it's the same. You know, it's the delta is more important than that peak number, and the curb shape is also more important than that peak number. Peak numbers or whatever. What's under the curve is what really matters. Wait, what? I love pizza. I'll tell John Domino's on the way. But Kevin, are you coming back down here, man? Oh, it's 7. Yeah, so Kevin should be on his way down. The owner of the car should be back down here by 7. He had to leave. I had to rush down from Canada to come meet the guy. Got to hang out with him for a bit, but then he had to rush home in between the tuning. But that was kind of interesting. All right, I'm going to see what John's plan is next, but I'll be right back. I'm going to give you a recap of the power numbers so far. Give me just 1 minute. So John is just bringing up the stock dyno run and then EC's tune on the, John's going to load up the dyno sheets showing the EC tune versus the stock tune with EC's 40 millimeter turbo. And we're going to see a comparison. Really, it's about, I don't remember the first number. I think we're looking at about a 12, 15 horsepower increase from their tune versus, stock. Which, I'm going to be frank, that's not a big gain at all. But that's a pretty abysmal number. Now, we don't know what's going on. Hey, there could be something physically going on. So when John starts tuning it, maybe he won't make any more power. But we don't know until he starts trying. So that's the fun of dyno tuning. So I'm going to go take a picture of the dyno curves, comparing the stock tune to the EC tune, so you folks can see that. Again, I'm going to post it on my Facebook page. And then, like I said, John's going to post everything later on his. He'll have more detailed information than me. Okay, I got the picture. I'm going to post it up on my Facebook page right now. If I can figure out how to post on Facebook. Oh, there we go. All right, I've shared it publicly. Go ahead and take a look. If any folks are commenting on the Facebook stuff right now, I'm not really looking at it, but I guarantee I will look at it later. I try to stay out of this stuff while I'm doing this. Anyhow, so yeah, gained a little bit of power, but not as much as I would be happy with personally if I was having a larger turbo tune. For perspective, that's a bigger turbo than the 1752. And that made, oh God, yeah, about 50 horsepower less About 50 horsepower less than my 124 made, just over. That's okay. So what, is guesses as to what John's tune's gonna make? Is that what we're guessing now? Yeah, okay. What do you guys think John's is gonna make? What do you think John's tune with this turbo is gonna make? Throw out your guesses. To recap you folks, I'm gonna read the numbers. To recap you, the stock tune with EC's turbo in fourth gear was, we'll give him the higher number. We'll say it's 178. Or no, hold on. Let me double check that. I don't want to guess. I don't remember. Got it. Okay, so if you look at the curve here, the differential is dark blue to red. Okay, so almost 20 horsepower. Almost 20 horsepower difference, which is not bad, but you would really expect a lot more out of tuning a larger turbo. Woo! I think installing a twin scroll would be an awesome project. I was actually just talking to Josh Stoffergen, a friend of mine from the Fiat world, about that kind of stuff the other night. Now, that guy's got some good ideas as to what he's going to be doing with his 500. Josh's 500, if you guys go back to the Dragon series, that's the owner of the Fiat 500 that I raced in the 4th episode of the Dragon. He runs a torque tune now. He no longer has an EC tune. He ended up switching to torque after that race. Because, to be frank, he should have been able to beat me. That car, outside of the tuning, was faster than my black 124. The tune was all that was holding it back. And that guy is brilliant. He knows what he's doing. Anyhow, so he was talking about some really cool stuff that he wants to do in terms of putting larger turbos on his car. Because he never stopped where we met. He kept going with his car. I can't wait to meet him again and race him again. I don't care what tune he's running. It's just, I just want to race him. It's fun. And that's the whole point. Racing should be fun. I really want to go to a quarter mile and get some times with him, though. An EFR is not bad, but like if you're going to get into that level of turbo, I think I'd be more interested in trying the G series from Garrett, which are essentially Garrett's answer to the EFR series. But I think you'll probably get opinions on both sides because Borg Warner does make a good turbo. They really do. Yeah, I've seen some pretty fantastic stuff come out of Borg Warners. Oh, what's the torque numbers? That's a good question. Sorry, I didn't tell you that. Give me a second. It's not on the sheet. Oh, okay. It's getting signal breakup. The torque numbers are all distorted. What that means is it'll have an inflated torque number, so it'll just be larger than it really should be. But yeah, I don't see it being anything low. The torque numbers must be half decent. Let me see if there was one good torque number at least. John, were there any good torque numbers? Just to get an idea. What was good torque numbers? So, oh god. No, you can take this where it's dry. So the blue on 2, yeah. We're 187 for it. Okay, that's soft. Yeah. And the blue here is what's going on. Okay. That's pretty much gotcha. What about red? Let's go here. Red. Give them the benefit of that. I'll give you that for that one. Exactly. That's the point. Yeah, okay. All right. Cool. To be fair, the blue tune was the stock was 213. Oh, okay. So stock made 213 foot-pounds. Their tune made 227 foot-pounds on the couple good runs that were there. You know, the other run might have had a bit more torque, but it did break up. But it can be run again, and we will do more dyno pulls. I'm live on a Barth chat. Oh, fantastic. Last time I was on a Barth chat, my thread got shut down. Oh, money will do pretty much anything. You're absolutely right. Anything is possible with money. Oh my God, that's what you're answering. The Dart is close to a Giulietta, not the Giulia. There's a difference. The Giulietta is a front-wheel drive, super sexy car, but it's still a different car than a Giulia. A Giulia is a rear-wheel drive, bigger car. Giulietta is still quite nice. Yeah, the names do sound similar. Early on in my days of alpha stuff, the names did confuse me too. Yeah, let's let John tune the car though. And that's the part where we're going to be waiting for a while now. So we're coming up on almost 2 hours of being live, and it's now time where John starts to write a tune for the car. Unless he's going to do any more dynoing with other tunes. Let me just double check that first. I don't want to speak for him. Okay, so I asked John what he's up to. He's going to load in essentially a 2-year-old tune as a place to start. So it's just one of his basic tunes from when he was doing more Dart tuning. So he's just going to load that in and essentially see what happens. It's a good place to start. It's really where you probably should start. Now, I believe a lot of John's tunes on the Dart usually end up in the 180 horsepower range for the stock turbo cars. Past that, I don't really know. You know what? Not all tunes are created equal, my friend. Not all tunes are created equal. You guys have any other questions? To catch anyone up who's new here, we are comparing the stock tune to EC's tune to a custom tune that John is going to write right now, all on the dyno in one night. That's what we're up to. At this point, the dyno numbers so far, to bring them back to you, have been yeah. Oh, shoot. No, they didn't make 20 horsepower. Almost 20. Yeah, just under 20. They've gained 20. So basically from 173 up to 192. So that's a 20 horsepower gain. Or another way to put it is 178 to 195 if we're looking at a different gear. Yeah, the big torque numbers that come out of EC's stuff isn't surprising. I think the phrase is hit and run. So that big jump of boost at the very start, that'll give you that big inflated torque number. To me or John? Yeah, reach out to either of us whenever you want, man. Like, I might not work here, but John's one of my best friends, so I can always put you in contact with the guy, but he's easier to reach in social media than I am. Yeah. Yes, Brody. Hit and run. Hit and run. Hit and run is literally a reference to that big boost spike. Give you that big hit, and then it runs off. RAV4. How is your Lyft driver? I'm so far behind. You guys are having your own conversation. That is so funny. Oh, I'm happy to hear your employer is paying for you to get down here. That's fantastic. Good employer. Oh, it is so cold in here. It's one of the biggest downsides to hanging out in this shop at night is it's freezing. It's actually more fun talking to you folks because I'm standing up moving. A lot of the time, John has a Recaro seat that is, well, here. I usually sit in this thing. But at least get to talk to you. Oh, Recaros. I got another set of Recaros, folks. The 124 is getting Recaros again. I'm super excited. Rad. I made a deal with a guy, mutually beneficial, and I get to try installing an APR wing on a car as a result too, which is going to be kind of fun. Okay, fair enough. I moved to the West Coast because of that. For those that don't know, Vancouver doesn't get all that cold in the winter. That's one of the main reasons I moved there like 10 years ago, just to get away from the snow for the most part. I know, I lucked out. How many people can say they ended up getting the OEM Recaros twice? Twice. That'd be 4. That's 2. So excited. That's coming up soon. We got to wait for the wing to get here. Once the wing's here, we'll do a wing install day and Recaros. Not for my car. The wing is not for my car, for the record. I'm thinking about it, though, because I'm going to need some downforce on that car. Or I'm going to need some aero, at least. I'm not sure. I was talking to RK about the automated spoiler. That thing looks kind of cool, but... Oh, for sure it's going to slow me down. Absolutely. I'm not too worried about that. The main reason I want a wing is stability at high speeds. Once the Julia swap is done, I want to do a 200-mile-an-hour run. Just to say I did it. Yeah, I know. The only reason I do this is just because I've had some phenomenal luck over the last couple of years. But dude, if you ever get the chance, just go nuts. You only live once. Well, I've got something else in the works as far as the body goes. I don't think we'll be needing a Rocket Bunny kit for it. It's one of those times where you got a good friend. Oh, hey. Domino's is here, Kevin. Hey, Kevin! Are you coming down here, Kevin? Are you going to eat? All right. It sounds like John's doing some testing. I'm kind of curious what he's doing. Give me just one moment. Okay, so John's got the new tune in the car. He's just loading it. He's doing the temperature part right now. Shouldn't be too long. That's the nice thing about loading consecutive tunes is the car's already up to temperature. So getting it to that point where you're ready to make the next dyno run doesn't take quite as long. Kind of nice. Once again, you know, a lot of people who are hardcore into Fiats know about the adaptive times. That's the one downside here, going back to back. You don't get that time for adaptives. But again, adaptives don't make that much of a difference. It could be plus a bit, it could be negative a bit, but ultimately you get a decent idea. And, you know, we're comparing them all loaded back to back to back. The only tune that actually got to have its runtime was the stock tune that Kevin's been driving around on. So not a big deal. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you guys like the new European bumpers better than the ones we have here in North America, Mr. Rocky Ninja, yeah, that guy's got something to help us out. The new bumper, I wasn't so into it initially, but once I got into the 124s, you start to see the correlation between the new 500 bumpers and the old one, and the 124s front bumper. It grows on you. I really like them, especially the Series 4 tails. Those things look really cool too. Yeah, make sure you post up about that, Lorenzo. I think folks will really like that. I would love to see one of those bumpers on a car. I'd love to install one, actually. It'd be kind of fun. Oh, okay. Sorry, my shoe was untied. I'm running around like a crazy person in the shop. That's not terrible. I'm actually surprised that it bolts up relatively well. I thought there'd be more differences. Can you add the European headlights, those new ones that have the halos in them? The ones that look similar to the 124s. Oh, that's a good question. Kevin, what do you have? Is that just sound coming out of your intake? Rad. Okay, cool. That's the blow-off sound. The Forge. I still love that kit. It's, you know, even if you're not into the sound of the Forge blow-off valve, you can get the DV that just diverts it back. But when you move to something like a 1752, yeah, having that solenoid to control blow-off is amazing. But then you can use, like, I used the Turbo Smart on mine with the Forge actuator. That was perfect. I love the sound of Turbo Smart blow-off valves. All right, Brad. Yeah, no, I don't think it's as loud as that either. It's definitely a bit more subdued. I like that sound, though. My preferences in how cars look and sound, though, might be a bit different than some other folks. Like, I actually like less showy. I really do. Like, the concept of putting a wing on my car is really hard, because that is the ultimate showy piece in my mind. But it just comes down to functionality over appearance, right? If it's functional, then yeah. Is it seriously? Really? You can change the volume? It's electronically controlled. Of course I can. Oh, okay. All right, yeah. I guess, yeah, that's fascinating. You can control it because it's electronically controlled. I guess that has to do with the time. Yeah, so I'm going to help install that wing on another 124, and we're going to gauge that. So if we like the way the APR wing looks on that one, then maybe we'll consider it. Is the stream still going for everyone else? It hit the 2-hour mark, so it might have paused.
Hey, video is loading.
Is it?
Yeah, stop.
No, nothing else. You might make it back a bit on live. Oh, refresh the page. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, good call, Lorenzo. Sorry, live streaming is still really new to me. Rad, okay, cool. Fantastic, okay. Now, I wish I was sitting at a couch in a living room. I am freezing my ass off. It is cold. So he should be just about done loading that tune in, and then we can move on to seeing what John's just basic 2-year-old tune does for making power with this turbo. Now, to be clear, that means it is just a basic tune. The first tune he's loading in is not a big turbo tune. It is just a stock turbo tune. I'm going to see what happens. The 2.4 is an interesting engine. I wish more folks would do stuff with that. Like, there's a gentleman named Howard that comes into John's shop, and he has a multi-air 2.4, but it's a multi-air 2.4 with I think it's a Borg Warner turbo on it. Like, it's got a pretty big turbo on the thing. And it's a pretty cool car, really. Really cool car. But yeah, rub it in, Alex. Rub it in, man. Yeah. No comment, Lorenzo. When they released their video of it accelerating, James, the guy that used to work here, him and I looked at each other. There was a bone stock 2.4 in the parking lot. So we went out and did the same we went out and did the same 0 to 60, but with 2 of us in the car, exactly the same. That post is still out there on the internet somewhere. It was pretty funny. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm kind of curious about that. Like, I would love to see another multi-air, a more modern version of it come out. Like, I'm kind of curious if it'll be. Do we know if it's direct injection or is it more like the 1.4? What's going on, Hunter Murray from a Barth Chat? Version 3. Huh. Oh, it is DI. Damn. That'll be right up John's alley. Yeah, I hope we get it here then. A direct injection 1.3 multi-air? That should make some power. That's Kevin. This is Kevin's start. Say hi to Kevin, folks.
Hello.
Yeah, more liters always helps, but you know, it's if it works, we're good. Welcome to live streaming, Kevin.
First time.
You want some pizza?
Oh. Not get one yet?
Do you guys have any questions about this build? It's Kevin's car. Go ahead and ask. He can see them just like me.
What's up, Darren? Darren actually helped me change the clutch in his garage.
Did he?
Yeah.
What clutch is in it?
The FX250.
FX250. Cool.
Took 3 fucking days.
Yeah? Okay, talk to Kevin for a minute, folks. I'm going to go do a bit of videoing. I think it's time for the next dyno run.
Jay, you can do about anything yet money wants, so. All right, I'm going to spike this real quick. So I was lucky enough that Jordan actually sent me this to test out for the Dart. It actually did not catch anything for the 3 months that it was installed. So I haven't opened it or drained it, and that freaking thing is empty. Bone dry. And here's the spike. Lorenzo, no, I didn't. It wasn't there when I got it. My wife ended up signing for it, and I just have to go home and get it. But I will let you know tomorrow. If I'm too close to the mic, let me know. Rocky, Jordan gave it to me. Alex, the lift was amazing. I got to drink a beer, and the dude took the can and threw it out for me. No idea how long they tortured me. I had their tune. I switched from another tune in January to EC in January, and now John's taking care of me after I made the wrong mistake twice. Oh, I know, Darren.
You can't hear me. You cannot hear me at all.
That sounds way different than EC.
Oh, yeah. Well, your car. Yeah. Okay. So you guys can take this as you want, and we're going to leave it at this for now. We're not stopping the stream, but you need to know this. So Kevin's car with that tune was running 16-to-1 air-fuel ratios. 16-to-1 under wide open throttle. Anyone who knows anything about cars should know that 16-to-1 is bad. It is extremely unhealthy. Yeah. So that's why John spent a bit more time with that tune, seeing what had happened. He thought it was actually his wideband malfunctioning. So he's put his tune in, and he just did a quick test, and it's back to normal air-to-fuel ratios. So maybe it's just his car. I don't know. Maybe it's just this car, but I have no idea. But the first thing that came out of John's mouth was it's not necessarily pops and bangs. It's causing all the pitting. So forescoping your pistons might not be a bad idea, folks, if you had that tune. It might not be a bad idea at all. And, you know, hopefully there's nothing wrong. And if there's no pitting, that's fantastic. That's what I'd love to see for anyone that's watching. I don't want to see any of you have pitted pistons, but you should double check. Definitely double check, because 16-to-1 air-fuel ratios is dangerous for your car. Exactly. You know, you want more fuel, not less fuel. You're better off to be rich than lean. Not that rich is much better, but you're well, no, it is a lot better. You're better off to be rich than lean for sure, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Having a richer air fuel is much safer. Much safer. Yeah, that comes in time, man. You guys will figure it out. I know you will. Categorically. Alex Como. Folks, if you ever see Alex Como make a comment on something to do with a car, here's my advice. Listen. His education is in automotive performance. If he says that that's not good, listen to the man. He is right. He's always right. It's hilarious.
So John just did a third gear pull. EC did a 173. John did a 211 with 3 less PSI.
They did 190 something. You did 211?
Right. Well, 211 with 3 less PSI in the tune.
Okay, so 211 horsepower so far for John. Remember, that's not a big turbo tune.
Third gear pull.
That was third gear. Okay, that was third gear. It'll go down a bit for 4.
He said it's going to be higher.
I think it'll be a bit lower. We'll find out in a second. John and I don't always agree. Anyhow, so he's already up power, and we're not even looking at a big turbo tune yet. We're looking at John's normal dart tune, and he's already made more horsepower. Let's see what fourth gear does. I should probably video this.
Just to give you guys an idea, the car sounds a lot meaner in person than it did on the EC Phase 2. So we'll see what it does. John's going to do some more tweaking. He told me he had like 50 maps that he calibrated last night before me coming in. And then he's going to give me a handheld to run and change between the gargles and whatnot.
Okay, 212 so far. 212. He made 212. 212 horsepower, and he's not even tuning for a big turbo yet. He's yelling at me because he wants to tell me something else. I should probably go listen to him. But I'm going to take a picture of this stuff, and I'm going to put it again on my Facebook page for you folks to see. That's fantastic. So I'm going to make a guess now on what John's going to make. My guess in terms of how much power he's going to make is about 235. That's my guess. Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to post up this dyno sheet, but at Redline, John's not big turbo tune is making 55 more horsepower than EC's tune at Redline. 55 at Redline. That wins races, for the record.
And that was how much less boost?
Oh yeah, on like 6 pounds less boost. Again, John tunes with less boost than those guys. I'm going to post this up right now onto my Facebook page.
Fucking epic.
Okay, so stock.
Hey, Alex, if you just type it in on your GPS, Torque Motorsports, Auburn, Washington, it'll bring you right to here. It's right next to a 7-Eleven. Can't miss
For the dyno.
and look for the big Torque Motorsports. Look at this. Greg's apparently whoever Wang Chung is telling is saying that Greg said they'll make 300 wheel horse with 18-to-1 ratio.
You'll just blow stuff up at 18-to-1.
Darren's got a 2.4. He's the guy I was telling you about that EC's been jerking around. They want to beta test on a dart.
Yeah.
He's getting ready to deploy next month, but he said that he's gonna chip in with Howard and buy the files to have John start tuning the 2.4.
Yeah, you're much better off. Don't waste your time, man. Don't let them experiment with your car. All right, so I just posted.
They do, but it's hard to find on their website.
Fair enough.
EC's address.
Yeah, they're in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Sapupa or whatever the hell it is.
Or it's near Tulsa. I don't know. I don't really care.
It's deployment money. I miss me some deployment money.
Yeah. I'm just never in the military, but I'm Canadian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Peacekeeping missions is what your military does.
We smile,
like
drink a lot of coffee, and apologize a lot. Hey there, E. I'm sorry, dear E. So just so you guys know, that was only the basic tune. So the next stage is John actually trying to make power. He's not even trying to make power yet. That's the funny part.
Hey, Andrew, I'm right here, man. I just got your text. If John opens back up the Dart community, if there's enough time in or requests, he'll open it back up. And then at that time, you would be able to purchase it through his website. It's
like I keep saying, you know, if you guys want to see John go back into the Dart market, your best thing to do is bombard him. Tell him. Because what says I want you to make something more than having a bunch of people tell you that you want him to make something? So go for it.
Let's do this Dart thing.
So
Lorenz is all about it.
Lorenz is all about it for sure. Okay, so still upcoming is John actually tuning for the big turbo. So keep that in mind. Now, I got to say, that's not bad. The turbo's response doesn't actually look that bad. They might have done a good job making their turbo. But here's the funny part. Remember, we're going to test another turbo on the 124 after this. It's a bit bigger than that still in the same frame. Should be fun.
That's what EC does. They give you dum-dums every time you buy
Okay, something. When you're a kid, you're told one hands you candy and wants you to get in the van, run away. If someone sells you candy with their tunes, run away. Dum-dums don't make for horsepower. Oh, and for the record, like when I started in the Fiat stuff, I did buy their stuff. I bought an intake, and then they yelled at me because in the last episode I said there's an intake, I won't mention who it's from. The intake that could only make 192 wheel horsepower was the EC V2 intake. Taking the EC V2 off and putting on a 3-inch pipe, well, that made 202 horsepower. And Chris yelled at me online for that. I got yelled at, and that was the beginning of I must work for torque. I was just a customer sitting on John's Dyno. The reality is, at that point in time, I just kind of annoyed John.
Dude, my phone is blown up.
That's cool. If you guys don't know, Kevin's on Instagram. You guys should follow the guy. Look in the comment section. I'm going to toss it out there. It is at the Abarth Dart. Hit him up on Instagram. No phone calls right now. We are busy. Yeah, well, it's worth failing. I'm sorry to say it, but I'm going to be honest, folks. I probably wouldn't be so rough about the issue with those guys if they would just be honest. If they wouldn't carry this whole dyno tuning the car not being possible, if they would just live up to reality and accept that you can dyno the cars and enter competition with other companies without having to rely on lying to the community and creating such a funny situation, I would leave them alone. If Greg would stop talking about my car and trying to downplay the fact that I am still faster than them with a run from a year ago, I would stop. I will let them up. I just won't. I'll leave it. That's fine. But it is what it is.
Lorenzo, I have like 8 people watching on Facebook that aren't in the chat that are texting me. I'm not getting the call. Eddie's getting calls.
I'm getting the calls. But that's okay. I'm closer to 40. We still make phone calls. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Is what it is. Hey, I mean, if they'll stop, lying, I will stop. I will leave them be. I have no issues if they just stop. All they have to do is stop lying and stop trying to downplay anything that John's done with my cars or anything that I've done with my cars.
And what John's tune is a base tune for the Dart, right?
Yeah, it's a 2-year-old base tune.
And it's 3 wheel horsepower away from EC's numbers they released yesterday for the big turbo tune.
Yeah, it's getting close.
Oh, yeah.
John will blow by their numbers for sure.
Yeah.
John's going to blow by the EC Dyno 2 numbers for sure. Easy.
He literally just asked me why I walked
up. Go ahead.
He literally asked me why I walked up to ask about the suckers. By the way, just write a message in your order and he'll send some out. But he asked me if I wanted 40 more horsepower, and I said, sure, why the fuck not?
Chris, yeah, I talked to Chris at the Dragon. So when we first got there, and Brett couldn't get it up the hill. So I ran up to the first person I saw and said, hey, do you have jumper cables? Turns out that was Chris from EC. I had to ask him 3 times before he'd actually say something to me. Then I tried making conversation with him another day. Nothing major. To be honest, like my issue really isn't so much with Chris. It's with Greg. Really. I know other folks have had issues, but really my issue is with Greg. You were at the Dragon? Did we meet? I met a ton of people at the Dragon. I absolutely loved that experience. Did we meet when we were there? I think you might have mentioned earlier. Rad, okay. It was a phenomenal event. I love going to the Dragon. It's well worth going on the trip to the Dragon. If you've never been there, go. It's an amazing time. Oh, yeah. Sponsored by Domino's. Not really. Yeah, the Dragon in North Carolina. If you go back through my videos, there is a 4-video series about going to Fiat on the Dragon, with a 5th video that's basically nothing but a few minutes of car porn. The Dragon is one of the most amazing roads you'll ever experience in your entire life. Like, I think you should experience other roads, but that one's really good. Anyhow, Jacob, why do you want to know if Chris talked to me at the Dragon? Yeah. Everyone in that town are phenomenal. Like, they know that people go there to drive. It's like a car vacation spot. And it's, yeah.
So, he's thinking maybe by night, 250.
Really?
Yeah. You just say you can go upwards 250.
Okay, John thinks he might hit 250 on this turbo. And you know what? We have to give EC some credit there. That's not bad. If John can hit 250 on this turbo on a Dart, not bad.
I think out of every Dart I've seen, minus the people on Facebook that adjust their wastegate to 7mm with an intake and say they get 225 wheel horsepower, which Andrew and I both know is shit. Based upon my build, I think 250 in a Dart, that'll be the highest on record right now.
Yeah, probably.
I haven't, besides that one guy, what did Bradley do? Hey, Bradley, what'd you do on your Dart? Dude, Nate has nothing on my fucking car. Him and Curtis can go suck a fat dick.
Yeah. The sub 1446s are turning out, as long as you've done your homework in the design of the turbo, they end up being good for a decent amount of power, really. It's a no-brainer upgrade for these cars. A good stuff turbo, no-brainer. I would recommend waiting for John's to come out. It'll be out very shortly. And based on what I'm seeing here, this isn't bad. But John has a tendency to always make more power. So I'm sure whatever John makes will end up making more power. But we will test that. And that's the only way to really know is to test it. And we will.
That'd be my night. Like Nate and Curtis can go suck a fat dick. And just so you guys know, Nate is a guy who drove his car all the way to Oklahoma to have EC tune, and he came out to a 198 apparently. So we'll see. I'm already higher than he is.
Yeah, Kevin was going on about that a little while ago. It's anytime you hear someone that says you can do something like adjust a wastegate on a stock turbo and jump like 100 horsepower. Disco Potato Phase 5.76. No way. What I want is a Cummins turbo on my Fiat on Phase 932. Hell yeah. Oh yeah. Clint, what? I don't know.
So Lorenzo, it has the multi-air spring upgrade, and then I dropped off a head down here to John back in February for him to port and polish, so that'll be done. He said he's going to try pushing the boost to 24, and that's about as far as he feels comfortable. But yeah, if you know Howard, he is the one of the only Dodge Dart 2.4 that did an aftermarket turbo that was built by John here in the shop. And I just beat his numbers. So I just beat you. You did 220. I beat you by 1.
I'm at 11 pounds now.
So after last Sunday's live stream, I know we're live streaming right now, but I'm kind of thinking I'd like to do a live stream every Sunday. What would you folks think of that if we did a live stream every Sunday? I can't say I'll always be down here at Torque for them, but I find them to be a lot of fun. Live streaming is a ton of fun.
Not yet. Once you are, I'm going to be like...
Yes, Howard has a built automatic transmission in his 2.4.
This is a guy that wants to throw in.
Oh, yeah. Anything's possible. Anything can fail when you're going live. It's
Howard wants to say hi.
Hey, Dan! This is Howard. Howard is the gentleman that has that big turbo 2.4 Dart. Say hi, Howard.
65 years old, and I can't go back to NA. No, I can't.
Hey, look at this. My face looks blown up.
Yeah, I couldn't get into. I couldn't get into comments on this. Wants me to sign in.
Oh, you gotta go. Yeah, you gotta go log into your YouTube.
I have no idea what my Google password shit is.
Howard doesn't know how to sign into the live chat, and he forgot his Google password. So let's we'll give him some IT help.
I came down here.
Hey, Dominion, when I was on the EC Phase 2, I was actually pushing 31 to 32 with the big turbo and John's ported polished exhaust manifold. Right now, Howard pushed out 220 wheel horsepower on a 6-pound spring. He recently changed it to 11-pound. There's no current tune platform out yet, so he's on a piggyback that John made. But he did a 220. And so as soon as the regular tune comes out, he'll be higher than that.
You want pizza? My wife brought me a 5
Wow, a lot of you folks have really stuck through this for a while. This is, we've been live for 2.5 hours now. It's been an interesting night. We've seen some really, really cool stuff, really interesting stuff. But yeah, you guys have been sticking here. 218, 285, that's a big chunk of torque. What kind of different dynos do need to read differently? And that's what I was talking about earlier. Just keep that in mind. Like I've been on different dynos with my 124. In fact, just for fun. So the guys that built my bottom end, they're called Evo Autosports. They're in Maple Ridge, Pitt Meadows area here in BC. And I was down there one day, and I had my black 124 with me, and it was untuned at that point. Same situation as when I ran the 14-1. So we threw it up onto their dynos just to see what had happened. And I know they have a heartbreaker of a dyno. I made 140. It's just a number. It doesn't matter. Like, literally a week later, I'm on John's, it says 200. It doesn't matter. It's just a number. But, you know, if I was going to use the Evo Autosport dyno for tuning, I would have wanted to go there when I was stock first and got a base full. Because the reality is, you know, on their dyno, I bet you a stock 124 makes all of 100 horsepower, maybe 110. Those guys primarily deal in big muscle, Supras, Skylines, big power cars, and that's Evo Auto. Those guys are badasses. But, you know, their dyno, it's a real heartbreaker. Does it matter? No, it's just a number. Getting your before and your after. That's all that matters.
Damn, look at that. 218 and 285.
That's what I was just talking about. Different dynos read differently.
And that's a big drivetrain loss, right? 218, 285?
Yeah, it depends on the type of dyno and everything, but as long as the car feels good, that's all that matters. Unless you're losing to everybody and it feels good.
Howard said that you're showing your crack and say no to crack.
I know. I'm bent over. What can I say? Stop looking. Okay, I guess I should probably do a bit more filming. I'm going to leave it running as we have for the last 2.5 hours. After this session, I'm going to try and get John to come over here so you guys can pick on him for a bit. Because picking on John, ton of fun. Right? Huh. Yeah, you probably have something grounded out, man. You have something trickling your power out. That's no good. That's no fun. Hope you get it figured out. Yeah, I'm really glad to see so many folks here. It's freaking awesome. You guys are rad. If you're just getting here, you missed some of the action. You've already missed a bunch of dyno runs so far. So to bring you up to speed, we had 172 on the stock tune, 192 on EC's tune for that turbo, and then John's basic tune ended up being 212 horsepower. That's where we're at so far. John's loading in more of his own tunes. He's actually starting to tune now. So he's aiming for 250 tonight, which is that'd be a good number for Kevin. Shows John's tuning power, and, you know, it is what it is. It actually, in some ways, I guess we call that a win for EC. All right, I'm going to do some filming. So if you don't mind giving me a ride back, no.
So the custom halos are on. Let me adjust the brightness. They're on torque orange, of course.
Okay, so we've been working on this car for about 2.5 hours now. Live stream.
There we go.
Fantastic. Thanks for everybody who's doing the live stream. You guys are rad.
Yeah, I don't know how long John's going to have this tonight, Paul. He said it's going to probably be a long night. Yeah, damn right, more horsepower. Nah, they're custom from Hercule LEDs. He does lights for all of the communities. So if you need something for Nabarth 500, he has those. Oh, Wang Chung, I didn't know that. That seems about right. I think it's a little bit bigger than what they did for what G-Pop did for, what's the other one? I can't remember the other name of the shop. Engine.
That on UC orange? Huh? Oh, they're not red. Close. Oh. Yeah, G-Pop shop do their turbos. That's right. Oh, maybe they changed it. You never know, right? We can't assume. We can only guess. So maybe they've changed it. Maybe it's still the G-Pop shop doing it. But either way, you know, it's not a bad turbo. It seems to be doing okay so far, right? It's like I said before, though, this just makes me really curious to see what John's turbo will do, because good Lord, a lot of dev time's gone into this turbo, and it's a little bit bigger than the EC one as well. So let's see what happens. It's going to be fun, but you guys will see that over the next month. I'm dying to see that happen. So G-Pop does the N-Gen one and EC is someone different? Fair enough. Good Lord. Also, if you guys missed any of this stuff, I'm going to be putting this thing up as an actual file, so y'all will be able to go back and double check anything that you've seen tonight. You'll be able to go watch the dyno polls. Well, you're watching the dyno polls, but you'll be able to go back and see any of it. Yeah. It's good to have for posterity. Yes. Who here has been here since the start? Who of you have been sitting here for 2.5 hours? I've been sitting here for 2.5 hours, but who of you have been sitting here for 2.5 hours? I know Alex has. Yeah! You guys are badass.
Oh yeah, so he did confirm it is G-Pop doing it.
That could be.
He plugged in the address.
Is it?
Because you have to send, if you want to rebuild, they don't stock rebuilds. You have to take your turbo out and send it to G-Pop to get it to the EC specs.
Okay, so maybe G-Pop is speccing a European wheel.
Yeah.
Fine. You're right from the start, man. Right from the start. Back when I had no sound. Yeah, Troy, you'll be able to go back and see those dyno polls and everything. I've also been posting up the numbers on my Facebook page. So anyone who wants to see the dyno sheets, they're there. John is also going to be posting everything at the end anyways on his. No sound crew checking in. Yeah. For those that weren't here, I had a little bit of trouble with the audio at the start.
I remember that.
Pro tip, if you're going to do a live stream, get the audio set up first, because if you switch it after, it doesn't work and you have to restart the stream. Pro tip. Not that I'm pro. I just make videos.
Hey Darren, there's already a big turbo in the car from Euro Compulsion. I don't know about in the future getting a bigger one or not.
My Facebook is just my name. You can find me as Edward Clark on the interwebs. I'm pretty open on my friend requests, so knock yourselves out. I also made that as a public post, though, so you should be able to see any of the dyno sheets I post publicly.
Your Facebook going up. Mine too.
Well, this live stream has been active for 2 hours and 38 minutes, and I think the other one took me 15 minutes to figure out. So that is about 3 hours. And, oh, Jacob, I bet you were one of the people waiting for it to start. Thanks for hanging around, man. Oh, yeah, no, for sure. Automotive channel. It's all about motors. I did drag over the Julia engine. Oh, I told you guys I was going to bring over my built motor. Give me a second.
Eric, are you still on?
Fiat block. It's astonishing you can carry these things by hand.
Oh, that's nice and shiny and beautiful.
It is. They're not pitted or anything. Woo!
Get the pistons from Lorenzo.
These are CP pistons and curler rods. I've had this thing for far too long. Far too long. I'm so excited that we're doing something with this thing. Stoked! Oh. And best thing is, like, this engine, it might out, and we're still going to play with this thing. So that won't be the end of the built engine. We're going to keep this thing going into other cars as well. Thanks, man. White, my white one is such a pretty car. Like my black one was definitively faster, but the white one is so pretty. No, is it? I don't think we have any beer here at all.
You can go to 7-Eleven and get beer.
You could.
It's
Yeah,
right there.
the white one's parked out front. It's here in its oil burning glory. Yeah, basically. This is just a heavy sewing machine. It's not even that heavy. Woo! Yeah. Oh my God.
Eddie, that smell, the exhaust is a lot better smelling than EC 122. Yeah, probably. You know what? EC, yeah, it's melting. Yeah, like that's what you do. I had it out on a block of it and put it up to 6 hours. Even the shotgun guys the power, you put the head, you take it. No, the 50 gun thing. Otherwise, you might want to go to snap. Go a little bit further or E5. And then go back to that. And then raise the 15. John was telling me what the head is and if I can get it to 280. Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't run there. I wouldn't run 280 all the way. That map all the time, though. So. That's good, man. If you go that far, eventually that needs to be Start 2-0, 2-4.
Yeah. The big table.
Fantastic thing.
Woo.
So I was looking at John's jig table. He still has some maps out for the dart systems. So maybe in the future, if you guys bug him enough, literally, if you guys have darts and you want to come back, just do what I did. I bugged John until he said, "Oh, that was a horrible dyno run. Bring it down to the shop and I'll take care of it." Literally, I'm up the road, so it's pretty easy. So now Darren's going to email John every day while he's in Afghanistan. And Darren, he does have a local 2.4, Howard, as you know, so he can do test and development on that and then push out tunes to a handheld later on.
That makes sense. That's cool. Nice pizza. Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't order tacos for delivery, so.
No, pizza's good, man. We're going to, where are we going? Oh, Tucson. We're going to Tucson for tacos. John and I are driving to Tucson to get tacos. That's going to be a ton of fun. I can't wait to go to Tucson for tacos. Oh, yeah. The 16G had lag, for sure. Like, it hit peak boost probably around 35 to 4,000, depending on which intercooler was in the car, because we did the water to air and the, what was the other one? The ATM front mount intercooler. Yeah, the TD04 is a great size turbo for the car. The guys in Europe love the TD04 for a good reason.
Yes, Darren, me too. So for those of you that don't know, this is going to be third tune on the car. There's another local site who did my first tune, and John Dyno did like 178 or 184 2 years ago. And I switched to EC. Now I'm going to John, and John's already schooled both of those out of the water. So,
sorry, which turbo had too much lag? A TD04? I couldn't see a TD04 having that much lag though, because like my TD05 came in at like 35.4, right? A TD04 is quite a bit smaller than a TD05. Like most of the guys that have them, I thought they were about 500 RPM off in terms of lag, but I could be wrong. Like those guys would know much better than me. But it all depends on what you want, right? Like if you are wanting top end power, the lag isn't as important either, right? But it's in a modern car, the lack of lag is what gives the car a more instantaneous feeling, right? And that is just ultimately more fun on a daily basis. So the earlier your turbo spools, the more fun you'll have on a daily basis, in my opinion. Hello, Mike. I like knowing what someone's definition of lag is, though, because I think, you know, some folks have a different idea or a different opinion of what turbo lag is, right? Like, some folks, you know, if the turbo's not spooled by 3,000 RPM, that's really laggy. Some folks, if it's not in by 2,500, it's really laggy. Like, I've heard folks refer to the stock 1446 as a laggy turbo. And I don't know, I don't consider it laggy, but some folks do. When I think lag, I think like 80s car lag. I think like the Chrysler LeBaron with a 2.2 turbo lag. That's lag. But not even close to what a big turbo will do. Getting the big turbo lag, and then we're talking. Oh, I want tacos. Oh, I want tacos. I got pizza. I'd love some tacos. I love tacos. Oh, my God. Okay, so if you're in Vancouver, or if you're ever in Vancouver, BC, Canada, to be completely clear, there is a restaurant called Taco, T-A-K-O, and they are a Mexican-Korean fusion restaurant. Sounds ridiculously horrible. It's not. It's amazing. I'm currently addicted to Korean barbecue short rib burritos. They have kimchi fried rice instead. Oh, good Lord. 2 nights in a row, I've been ordering that stuff. Last night, night before, 2 nights in a row. So good. I never thought Korean mixed with Mexican would be so amazing. Good Lord, I love tacos. So just so you guys know, if you're new, we're just waiting for John to finish up so we can do a dyno run with his first real tune revision. To bring you up to speed if you weren't here before, so far the bone stock tune with EC's 40mm turbo made 172. Using EC's tune, it made 192. And then John's basic dart tune, his very basic ass 2-year-old dart tune, made 212. That's where we're at. What are everywhere? Like Korean, Mexican fusion restaurants? Because if they're everywhere, I'm in. Like 100% I am in. I'll just go live in one of their kitchens. I wonder if they'll let me park my car out front. These are the important questions in life. I'm still waiting to know, though, Darren. You got to tell me those Korean/Mexican taco places are everywhere. This is my first time ever finding them. I found them randomly on DoorDash the other night. It's one of those times where you base on the internet ratings, and the internet was so incredibly right. So incredibly right. All right. I'm going to check in with John. Smells like regular sauce now. Huh? I didn't know time. Oh. All right, so he's getting there. He's getting there. Writing a good tune can take some time, so we're just going to sit here and calmly wait for John to finish his magic. Oh. A food truck? I love food trucks. Any city that has a good food truck culture, good Lord, I'm in. Makes it easy. Good night, Paul. Thanks for watching, man. Appreciate it. I love food. You can tell. When I started Pistons and Petrol, I was 180 pounds. I'm like 210 right now. It's all kind of adding in the middle. That's where mine went. Sexy. Need to lose some weight. As I keep eating. We're almost there. It is late, folks. No, Thanks, Alex.
Why aren't we home yet?
No, I haven't actually. There was a few folks that are going to be there. I'm probably going to see. Oh, there's a couple different people that are getting cabins. I want to see what Josh is doing before I do anything yet. But yeah, I want a cabin this year. I love the cabins. It's so nice. It's I went up and hung out at a cabin one night at the Dragon with one of the guys, and yeah, it was rad. This guy Ryan, super cool guy. Dude lives in New Orleans. That's one of the best things about going to the Dragon. You end up meeting people that are just from all over the country. Just so much fun. But, all right, so I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Once again, we're just waiting for John to finish writing up this tune. The numbers again so far have been stock tune 172, EC tune 190 tune, and John was 212. So we're getting there. Again, the number John wants to try and hit tonight now after seeing this is 250. So that's going to be freaking awesome. Yeah, you can't go every year, man. I wouldn't be too worried about that. Can't do it all the time. But, all right, I'll be right back, folks.
So fourth gear, 221, 3 away from EC's phase 3 on John's stock, his base tune for the Dart. So he's tuning right now. We'll see where he's going. I'm a bit, Darren, are you talking about the circle ones? Oh yeah, Darren, those are nice. I just looked down on my phone. They're better than those new circle ones they use.
All right. So you know someone pretty well when your friend's wife gives you a task that your friend was supposed to do because he's busy tuning. Now I have to tape a bunch of bottles together to make a game out of marbles. That's my job for the night. It's going to be exciting. As soon as we're done live streaming, I'm going to be taping bottles together. Exciting life of Eddie, YouTuber. Oh, so I hope that the experience of sitting here through the process gives you folks an idea of what tuning is actually like. It's not all that exciting. Kind of reminds me of hacking. You know, you watch a movie about hacking. I promise you this. Nothing like that.
John looks like he's doing.
Yeah, it looks kind of like what John's doing. Same thing. Boring. Black screen. White text. Anything that looks like it's fun really usually isn't. It's boring as shit. It's the end result that you want. Right, Johnny? Can't even hear me right now. But yeah. So thanks all for hanging out here. Don't worry, if you guys need to get out of here, this video is going to go up. I'm not going to stop the stream, so it will be running. Yes, exactly. It's nothing like the movies. Anyway, I'm going to leave this thing running the entire time. So don't worry, if you guys need to go, bounce out. You can check and see what else happened later. It's not really a big deal. I will be keeping this up online. It is by far the longest video that will be on my channel at this point, though. We're coming up on 3 hours of this. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying hanging out. It's kind of the fun thing about doing this. I'm not going to lie. The first time I live streamed just last week, I'm actually a little bit nervous. Any other time you're making videos, you go through this first, and then you sit in front of a computer and edit it. There's no editing this. Just kind of sitting here talking to y'all. I'm no hacker, man. I can just tell you it's not like it is on television. I ain't a hacker, but I play one on television. I ain't a mechanic, but I play one on TV too. I'm a mechanic. I'm a hacker. I'm everything. I'm Clint. Raw! Hack the planet. Yeah, exactly. If you've ever seen the movie Hackers, that is exactly what I'm talking about. Where you have like the 3D cubes jumping around. There's only one instance I can think of bizarre 3D computer use that was actually accurate, and that's Jurassic Park. If you watch Jurassic Park, there's a scene where they're running from the velociraptors and they're inside of one of the scientific places. We'll call it the scientific place. Anyhow, so they're sitting and they're using this weird 3D interface. And it looks like every other fake 3D interface in the world, but it's real. That is a Silicon Graphics indie interface back from the 90s. This is the level of nerd that I am. Just for the record. I grew up in front of a computer. I am a proper nerd. The only reason I was able to figure out how to edit a video. Rad. Yes! Okay, John just said, what's the number going to be? Make your guesses, folks. Guess how much power the turbo's going to be making. Yeah. How much power are we going to make, folks? John guessed 250 earlier. John guessed 250. Doesn't mean he's going to be right, but that was his guess. I'm going to guess 232 then. My guess is 232 for this dyno run. 232.3. 232.3. You know, I'm going to write that down. 232.3. Yes, sir. May I have another? See, that's cool and all, but it's actually attached to this key. And this key is way cooler. This is John's Singer key. If you guys don't know anything about John's Singer, John does a lot of KTM cars. And he has the highest horsepower Singer out there right now. He's got an 11.9 second rear-wheel drive, an 11.9 second all-wheel drive. That's absolutely ridiculous. I absolutely love it. I've driven the Stinger before. I have jacked the Stinger before. So strange. It's such a nice car. I never thought I'd say that about something like that, but it really is a really nice car. It's like a cheap competition to the Giulia QV, essentially. But I still prefer the QV. A lot of Stinger guys, their goal is to beat up on the QV. I didn't know that until recently. I was talking to one of John's customers one day. And yeah, it turns out his main thing, his main goal is to be able to beat up on the QV. Which is cool. Nothing wrong with that. You got to have goals, right? Like when I first started tuning Fiats, my goal was just to be able to have the amount of power as my goal was to have the same amount of power in a Barth had out of a 500T. I set the bar way too low. Way too low. John fixed that. Yeah, 0.3. 232.3. In fact, maybe I'll change it to 232.32. Yeah, it won't be because the timing chain's not on the back of the engine, which means the engine will never have to come out of the car. Oh, you know what? I bet a tuned QV would absolutely smoke a Stinger. Like, you know, it's like anything else. You know, you try and beat a car that's stock, right? But tuned for tuned, that changes it all together, right? And that's the plight of any, you know, car chasing another car. Like, you know, I've set goals for beating cars with my cars, and, you know, the benchmark isn't a tuned version of that car, it's a stock version of that car. You start tuning up one of those cars, and yeah, you might as well move into a bigger car at that point. Yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is I'm pretty sure a tuned QV would smoke a tuned Stinger. Especially if we're talking about a QV Stelvio. If you guys saw that video that was done recently, you'd know that a QV Stelvio is a beast in terms of quarter mile and what it can beat. I feel like I was getting smoked by my grandfather. My grandfather's pretty cool, though. My grandfather wants to swap a North Star from an old Cadillac into a really old, oh my God, RV. So my grandfather has this old fiberglass RV that's front-wheel drive. It's the strangest thing. And he wants to actually transplant a North Star engine into it. I guess it just runs in the family where we like putting weird things in weird cars. But yeah, my grandfather's awesome. You know what we should do one day?
What?
We should race the 124 in the Dart.
Right here? All the way down?
There's also a quarter mile nearby.
Oh, down at Evergreen, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, it's closed for the year. I guess we'd have to do that.
I haven't been there yet.
Or you could just drive with us south, go find a quarter mile and run. We'd have to put your car on a diet first, though.
I'd put myself on a diet first.
Hey, I've gained 30 pounds. Don't worry about it. I ran a big turbo Dart once. You know that, right?
Yeah, Brody's rubber, right?
Yeah. No, not Brody. Brody drives a Fiat.
Oh, all right.
No. There was one of John's old customers had a Dart with a stuffed turbo in it back in the day, and that thing made some decent power. It wasn't like what John's doing right now. And it was an old design, but I ran him. He had a stuffed turbo, and I had a stock turbo. I was making like 200 horsepower at the time, and that just shows what weight can do for cars. He was, what did we do? I think we did a 40 roll actually, and me with my stock turbo at 200 horsepower versus his, I think it was around 210 or 220 horsepower. But, you know, it just shows what an 800-pound difference, 1,000-pound difference makes. I bus length the guy. It wasn't car length, it was bus length. It's just weight. I would love to see someone gut out a Dart and get it down to a lower weight. Because, excuse me, the Dart has a much better wheelbase. Much more stable. So I'm kind of curious to see what one of those things could do. Yeah, they are tanks, absolutely. That's why I want to see one gut it out. But does anyone play Forza? Forza 7 specifically? Well, either way, I play Forza. And when I first got Forza 7, I realized that the Dart was a car you had to earn. So I spent a lot of time earning the Dart in Forza 7 just so I could do a drag race between the Dart in Forza and the Fiat in Forza. I think I probably wasted like 10 hours getting that Dart in Forza. You play Forza?
No. PlayStation all the way. All right. My wife's yelling at me, so I'm going to go.
All right.
He said about 8. He'll be back down here.
Okay.
Tomorrow, so I'll pick up the car then.
Cool.
I'll be up at 2.
Brad. Goodbye to Kevin, folks.
I'll be on the chat later.
Yeah, why would you sit and watch a 3-hour live stream? Who the hell does that? PC Master Race. Oh, yeah, here we go. I used to actually be more of a PC gamer, but yeah. I'm not really much of a gamer at all. Like, I like Forza and Gears of War, and it's mostly to play with a friend of mine that lives in Ontario, closer to Lorenzo, actually, than where I live. It's one of the only reasons I actually play games, just so I can talk to a friend. Old friend. Known the guy for years. Like, grew up with him, lived together. Everyone has that friend, you know, that one that you've known forever. It was him and this other, it doesn't matter, but yeah. That's why I have a console to play games with that dude. He's good too. So John is getting there. As he said, he's loading the tune in, so we're going to get to see what happens very shortly. I'm dying to see what happens. Yes, you're speaking my language. Hey, Brody, look, BSD. I'll be honest, I might be a Mac guy, but I do actually like my Linux boxes. I'm more of a Linux guy than a BSD guy. Debian! Debian! Told you, nerd. I actually toyed around and started making a tech channel for YouTube. I haven't done much with it yet, but one channel seems to take a lot of my time already. But yeah, I do like computery stuff. Yes. Well, yo, you do Nicks for the money. For the longest time, up until just before, actually, no, even just after I started Pistons and Petrol, I was a network administrator, and I administered a Windows network. It was all Microsoft inside of ESX. Callie, yes, my man. Are you watching a live stream from your car, Kevin? Or no, from your girlfriend's car? I don't know who you're getting a ride home with, but that didn't take long. Howard. When I was younger, we used to do proper nerds back in the 90s would have LAN parties. And I had this one buddy, grew up with him, his name's Mike Hornabaggy. And yeah, people got tired of him at LAN parties because he would just sit there and mess with people. In hindsight, it was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. He was the first of us to ever get into, you know, that kind of side of tech. But it was really, really funny. If the live stream pauses, just hit the refresh, friends. On a charter bus? Wow. Okay, how do you do a LAN party on a... How you do that? Like, when I was doing LAN parties, you gotta understand, CRT monitors were the monitor you had, LCDs didn't exist, and we were playing on Pentiums, like Pentium 1s. Pentium 2 was high-tech. That makes sense. I told you, Lorenzo, I'm a proper nerd. I just happen to like cars. Okay, so the car is starting up, which means John's probably getting it up to temperature, which means we should be about ready for another dyno pull. So I'm guessing about 10 minutes, folks, and we'll be making another dyno pull. So if you've been hanging out here, hanging in for another dyno pull, we'll get it to you very, very shortly. Why would you need a PoE switch? PoE is power over Ethernet. That's for supplying power to the devices. Huh. I would just use one of the wireless laptop machines to set up as a wireless router, essentially. But that's just what I would do. Use a VM, set up some stuff, I guess. I don't know. I'd never done it. I'm just guessing. All of our LAN parties were done with classic hardware. Hey, Brody, you missed out. Someone mentioned BSD. Brody likes BSD. He's a BSD guy. Yes, this is a car channel, and we're talking computers. There is a definitive correlation between Fiat owners, and I'm guessing Dart owners as well, and being in the tech industry. It seems to just be this strange correlation. Like, I read this one thing once, it's like, who drives in a Barth 500? Well, the guy that drives in the Barth 500 is that random guy who does something in tech. You don't know what it is, but he never seems to have to go to work. And that's who drives the Barth 500. And to be honest, it's kind of accurate for a lot of folks. I love watching the scammer videos. Oh, so much fun. You'd think the scammers would clue in right by now, but they must still be making money. Okay, so it's about 90% through the heat up phase, which means we're going to be making a dyno pull in probably about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm going to grab myself a glass of water, and then we're going to watch some rad-ass dyno pulls. Regular car reviews, yes! Okay, before I grab my water, the first video that I actually made for Pistons and Petrol that never got put up, the first episode was actually more like regular car reviews than anything else. One of my favorite YouTubers is regular car reviews. I just ended up wanting to do something with a little bit more B-roll, so I ended up doing something different. But there was an episode that was more of a voiceover, blah, 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 that never got put up. I think I probably still have it somewhere, but yeah. Anyhow. What's wrong? I have Darts of America. Darts of Merca. Are they upset about the tuning? They shouldn't be. This is data. This is information. It shouldn't upset anyone. Oh. All right, so we're almost ready. I'm super, super excited to see what happens here. I think we're going to see some actual real numbers come out this time. Mind you, I'll tell you from experience that sometimes you're expecting something big to happen and it's the opposite. But that's just tuning. Oh, good Lord, man. 7 a.m. Where are you that it's 7 a.m.? I think you mentioned earlier. Where are you? So funny. Wastegate adjustment on a engine like this, it's useful when you're tuning, or maybe it's useful if there's a defect and your actuator wasn't tight enough from the factory. But ultimately, if you tighten your actuator arm too much, the car is just going to not like it, and then it's going to do one of two things. It's either going to start dumping boost, you hear that, or it's just going to pull it back through tuning and bring you right back to where you were. There's no point to making those adjustments. Just get yourself a tune instead. Those adjustments are there to support and work with a tune, not just something you do on its own. Yes, Mr. Regular is amazing. Like, that guy's hilarious. Like, real fart. Real fart. Yes. Oh! Damn, I love that guy. He's amazing. See, thank you. The ECU will adjust. Mr. Regular, I think he's in Pennsylvania. And my mom lives in Pennsylvania. She actually just moved there a couple months ago. So my plan is, when I go to Pennsylvania, I'm thinking about grabbing like a crappy old car or something and then getting Mr. Regular to review it. Or at least try. I don't want to offer the guy like a car that I have, because he doesn't give a shit about those. He drives regular cars. So I feel like I'd have to buy a really crappy car and just offer it up to him. Or maybe... I bet you Mr. Regular would want to drive the LeBaron. Like, what is a better car for Mr. Regular to drive than a red, two-door convertible, 2.2-liter turbo Chrysler LeBaron? Man, hell yeah! Oh yeah! Woo! He'd love it. Like a Yugo? Oh my God. He's covered a lot of ground, though. Mr. Regular's been around for a while. Like, the guy is badass. I remember those. Nah, LeBaron. Oh, yeah. Woo! Oh, man. I almost actually brought the LeBaron down here today. This close. I got to the 124 instead. You can guess why. Ask and ye shall receive. Someone has one of those. That's amazing. Oh, got a friend of mine. His last name is Bonneville. Yep. Great name. 3.8 liters of freedom. Well done. John's almost ready, folks. We're getting there. Thanks for hanging around for so long. We are over 3 hours into this stream, and we are still going. Mind-boggling. Either way, this is going to be super, super good. If you weren't here before, John offered up saying, hey, what are you guys going to guess for the power for this dyno run? My guess was 232.23. No, 232.32. John guessed like 230, I think. If you didn't guess, throw it out there before it's too late. How many of you folks have E85 regular to you? I think most people end up watching Doug DeMuro at some point. I think he's probably the single biggest YouTuber. Magic. Yeah, wheel horsepower is the magic metric that John deals in. E85 is completely worth it. 100%. Mind you, someone said it wasn't worth it, and then they changed their mind randomly when it benefited them, but what do I know? Yeah, 87. Woo! 87 octane, maybe add a little bit of water to your tank. Yeah, that'll make some power. If you really want to put it in, throw in some diesel. Woo! And then take some of your blinker fluid and pour it in your gas tank. That'll really get you moving. Oh, yeah! I'm almost better at being Clint than I am at being myself. Now, that's a sad, sad reality of life for me. I run my car on coconut oil and perfume and sweat. Ball sweat. Oh, yeah! I somehow highly doubt that. The guy won't even publicly actually respond to me, so. And I'm not concerned. Nitro? Put nitro in it. It'll make lots of power. Oh, yeah! The higher octanes are so good. John actually has a place that does race gas just down the street. They won't pump it into your car. You have to bring a jerry can. But they will let you pump in 100 at the pump. John's got some good gas by him. He's very fortunate in that way. I think it's 110 that John has too. Let me double check. John? Yeah, pump down. Yeah, I was right. So they have 100 they'll do at the pump, and then they have 110, 114, and 119 that you can buy at the jerry can. It's expensive though. Like even the 100 octane is $10 a gallon. Like I filled up with it a couple times, and it's good, but it's not a cheap tank of gas. That's where E85 is so nice, right? Like E85 is typically cheaper than normal fuel, and its octane is right up there with 110. Ish. Yeah. All depends on the 85. Okay, folks. That sounds like a car on the dyno. Let's see what happens. Okay, so John just did a top speed check on this thing. There's no wind resistance, so he's not pushing the wind. But he just hit 180 miles an hour on the dyno. 180 miles an hour on the dyno. So this thing is geared out to hit 180. If this thing could actually hit that, you know, accounting for pushing through the wind, that'd be astonishing. But I don't see that happening at this point. But, that's a lot of gear. Yeah, John found the, I guess, yeah, the moral is John found the speed limiter in the car, so he can remove the speed limiter in this thing. Alex, your Evo is a beast. I wish it was fully up and running when I was visiting you. I would have loved to actually gone for a ride in that car, but I will eventually go for a ride in that car, one way or the other. It's just a limiter. You know, speed limiters are, you know, they're there for a reason. They're stop us from speeding, I guess, but whatever. That's not terrible. Gas up here, just normal pump gas up here in, I think it's about 260 or 270. Kevin, how much is gas right now here in Washington State? I think it's like high 2. Car did not like that tune at all. So it sounds like John was hitting limiters on that tune. Welcome to tuning. Let's see what happened. I'm going to go ask John. Give me 1 second, folks. Okay, that's kind of cool. So John hit some torque limiters there, but there's a reason he hit them. That tune was making 208 horsepower by the time it hit 4,800 RPM. Now, if you go back to my Facebook page and take a look at some of those other dyno charts, you'll know that that was moving up. So that was probably a good 230, 240 horsepower tune if he can get past those limiters, which I know he'll be able to get past. Let me just pull up that dyno curve so I can tell you the difference. Oh, God. Yeah, so John was making at least another 20 horsepower, 25, 30 horsepower even. It's kind of hard to tell for what I'm looking at. I don't have RPM on this dyno chart on my phone. But that's big. And that's more than, sorry, that when I say 20, 25 more, I mean more than the other tune that he wrote, the 212 horsepower tune. So if he was making 208 halfway through that hole, okay, so yeah, John's going to work through that tune, make some revisions, because that is the right direction. Yeah, John shouldn't have any trouble hitting 240, 250 on this thing. Now, I'd highly recommend not going too much past that. excuse me, sorry, without switching to E85, but not a big deal. We only talk wheel horsepower in here. I don't do crank. I don't know if you're talking to me, but I'm just going to guess. Good night, Lorenzo. Thanks for stopping by, man. Everybody say good night to Lorenzo, and thanks for finding the time in chain cover. Oh, when he was doing the high-speed run, that wasn't a power run. That was just checking the top speed of your car. Good night, Mike. Hey, if you can do it on 91, it's something you can run every day. One benefit there. Oh, yeah, no, we're talking wheels. So far, the best Kevin's car has done tonight is 212 wheel horsepower at Redline. That's the best he's done so far. We'll probably see 240, maybe 250 out of this car at the wheels before the end of the night. The one thing I got to give VC is the turbo does seem to be decently done. It really is.